hope somebody is actually here. That would be very cool. Okay, there we go. Now the chat's moving. Sorry I'm late. I had the stream. I had everything for the stream like ready to go and up and running, and then the second I logged in to start the reel, everything broke and it all turned vertical. It was really annoying. But here I am, and please tell me if anything's lagging or if there's like any audio issues, like things being too loud or too quiet or whatever the case. Hello. It has been such a long time since I've streamed anything. How are all of you? No. Go back. There we go. That's better. Skipped frames detected 26% over the last 2 minutes. That doesn't sound good at all. Okay. Low lagging. Oh boys. I stream on a tablet rather than like a proper computer. So there's a good I don't know. Fix that. Let me see. Come on. I closed a few things. I was hoping that I could maybe draw with the ibis paint up in the corner while we watch the movie, but I guess my computer can't handle that, which is too bad. How long will this stream be approximately? I would expect like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at most. Movie time. Movie. Who's ready for movie? Who is ready for movie? I don't know. Is it showing? Should be showing. Okay, it is. Epic. Lagging like a dog with a Charlie horse. Okay. Wonderful. Hang on, let me see if I can fix that. 58% over the last 2 minutes. Oh no. Microphone unmuted but has no. I don't know what any of that means. Maybe if I turn the recording off, it'll be okay. That didn't. That worked. Oh no. I don't think it stopped. Oh. Everyone writes slurs. Please don't. Settings. Okay, turn that off. Close. Alright, wonderful. It's not recording anymore, so hopefully that means it will no longer be broken. And let's start this video then, I guess, with no further delays, I hope.
Oh, thank God. There you are. Shh. Be quiet. It'll only hurt for a moment. I promise. Ready to go to heaven?
So the way that we did that scene is that I made the animatic, and then it was Hermit was the one that animated it, and she did a super good job. I don't usually do the animatics anymore after episode 2 because I am actually not very good at making them, and I take forever. Which is not good. It slows us down a lot, and I only did that because I'm a bit of a control freak. But I'm glad that it turned out good for at least once. Audio's much better. Okay, wonderful.
Her eye. She was in so much pain. Her left arm was broken. The bone had split all the way through. She could see little shards of it poking through her charred skin. She had fallen. It was a miracle she wasn't hurt worse. Even still, her ribs, legs, and pelvis had fractures in them ranging from small to serious. She felt pressure behind her head. Her nose felt crooked and off. She coughed up blood. She tried to stand, but she just couldn't. Her legs buckled under the weight of her broken body. She only made it a few steps before crumbling to her knees. Her instincts dragged her into an alleyway. It was a dirty place, a very dirty place. Broken bottles, overflowing metal cans, discarded drug needles, and predictably, a lot of black bags filled with filth. Vaggie settled herself in between two dumpsters and pulled an empty box over herself. She still felt exposed, but that didn't matter. The threat of immediate discovery had passed, and with it went her adrenaline. What little strength she retained within her muscles abandoned her, an intense, stinging pain creeping into its place. Before long, the pain exploded into a dreadfully overwhelming sensation. She coughed up more blood.
Ironically, although this is one of the first pictures that appears in the episode, this is actually one of the last ones that got made. I was planning on making it myself, but since we were low on time, I ended up giving it to a different artist. I believe, oh, what was their new name? Teeny Tiny. Teeny Tiny is the new name that they go by. They used to go by Diseases, but they don't use that one anymore.
Her sight was starting to fade. She fought to try and keep herself awake. Footsteps. Vaggie's vision kept getting darker and darker and darker. She couldn't move anymore. Even when her box was lifted up, she couldn't move.
How is it listening to yourself narrate? It was odd at first, but it's not any more different. When I first started YouTube, it was really uncomfortable listening to the sound of my own voice, especially like my full natural voice, which I used to use for videos. But I don't I got used to it after a while. I think when by the time I started making videos about Has Been Hotel, like my first ever one was a redesign on Adam. By that point, I had gotten used to listening to the sound of my own voice, and I actually do alter it when I'm recording or streaming, because normally it sounds something more like this, which isn't quite as pleasant to listen to. My normal talking voice is more monotone, and I always sound kind of angry. So I actually taught myself how to voice act so that I'm a little less off-putting to listen to. This is how I usually talk with strangers or when I'm recording and and whatnot.
Even when she was looking directly into glowing yellow eyes, her body had been through too much to keep itself conscious. Vaggie awoke. She was again in a different, unfamiliar place. This was happening too often. She forced herself to sit up, very nearly scraping her horns on the bookshelf above her. There was just enough space to accommodate her. She was in a small but decently sized room. The wallpaper was a swirling pattern of bluish grays and silver swirls. Bookshelves were built directly into the walls up to the ceiling. In the farthest left-hand corner of the room there was a desk of white wood. On the left-hand side of the seat sat a dead flower. To the right, a bookshelf that hadn't been emptied yet. Directly in the middle was a dusty journal. There were a few banners around the room bearing the symbol of a moon with a cross, or maybe a dagger going through the bottom of it. Despite the shoddy look of the place, it looked as if someone had made great efforts to make it look presentable. The bedside lamp and table looked brand new. So did the dull gray curtains. In the fireplace sat the remains of a dying blue fire, keeping the room just warm enough. The bed was a bizarre backwards L shape, curling around a bookshelf built into the corner. It had a part up top bolted into the ceiling, forming an overhang over the bed, making the space feel like a cave. On the bed's back wall was a black and white painting of a garden. It was fairly amateur work, but it matched the space well enough. Vaggie looked down at herself. Her wounds had been bandaged, her arm in a sling, but her body, it wasn't correct. Her forearms looked charred and ashy like burnt paper. Her fingers had been turned to talons, her nose to a beak, her ears to nubby horns, for lack of a better word. Weirdest of all were the dark spikes attached to the sides of her wrists, each one about 5 feet long. They were rubbery and flexible like cartilage. Her elbows were tipped with similar but much smaller spikes. She guessed they were around 2.5 inches. This was a dream. It had to be, but the aching pain in her chest told her it was not so. She stood on the edge of her bed to look through the bedside window. Bars. There were bars on the windows. There was a layer of cloudy white glass, and just beyond it, steel bars. Outside, she saw a courtyard, and behind it, a looming black wall fashioned to look like a dragon curling around a castle, guarding the gate that led to freedom. Its golden eyes leered at the house. Its expression begged for someone to try and escape. Come near me, she seemed to tempt. Vaggie glared through her fear. Challenge accepted. Vaggie shakily left the safety of her bed. Her legs trembled in frailty, yet she remained capable of walking so long as she braced herself against the wall. Passing a window...
The reason why this particular art piece looks kind of strange, I put like all of her hair in front of her face on purpose. You know how like sometimes in media every now and then you'll find like a faceless character who's like their face is always like blocked out for some reason, like hidden by hair or like the framing or behind a pole or something like that. I wanted to do that with Vaggie, at least at first, until she was described in the narration. There's a scene later in the story for anyone who hasn't seen that part yet. What are you doing here? There's a scene later where we see her reflection, and I wanted that to be the first time that we saw her face, but I'm pretty sure we didn't actually pull that off completely. I think I might have actually missed one, and we might have seen her face a bit too early, but I still really like it. I think it turned out really nice. I think if in context I had managed to make everything else fit that same facelessness, it would have worked a little bit better.
Previously out of her view, she saw a forest of sickly, rotting trees, with only a few still sprouting.
Did you design all the
faded,
backgrounds with
unhealthy
Minecraft? Yes, we
leaves in
did.
Defiance. No exit that way that she could see. She feared the front gate would be her only escape. She hobbled to the door and was shocked to find that it was not locked. Perhaps whoever had left her here hadn't expected her to recover fast enough to feel the need to lock it. She opened the white door just a crack and listened out into the hallway. Hearing nothing, she crept out. It was extremely dark. The only illumination came from behind her. The beam of light from her window didn't reach far enough to see the end of the hall. Looking to her right, though, she found another opportunity. Her room wasn't the only doorway this side of the hall. She tiptoed toward that opening, the faded carpet further muffling her footsteps. She kept her left arm carefully tucked against her body, keeping the shard from scraping against the wall. She wished she could do the same with her right. She didn't like that such a long appendage was jutting out into the dark where it could draw the attention of anything lurking within it, or easily knock something over. Hearing no one, Vaggie allowed herself to step out into the hallway into the next chamber. It was a stairwell, 2 cases leading up to the floor that Vaggie was on. Between them, quartz pillars were carved with a demonic eye trapped within a ring. On the ring were 2 circles, one above and below the eye. They had been painted red once, many years ago, but the paint had cracked, chipped, and decayed with age and neglect. Dated yet ornamental gas lamps crowned the iron railings that framed these grand staircases, a few of them reduced to collections of shattered glass and mangled metal thrown sloppily upon the fraying carpet. The only light came in through a pair of barred windows inlaid with red-stained glass. These windows were set into a pair of grand double doors, which were themselves framed in the same style as the stairs.
How do you feel about others taking inspiration from your retelling for their own version, with credit, of course? I don't mind. You really don't even really need to credit me unless you're using my interpretations of the characters or my character designs or, you know, the setting and world building directly. I really don't mind. All art comes from somewhere else. Nothing is truly original. Everything has inspirations everywhere, and I don't think you need to credit every single time you take inspiration from anything. uh Man, I know I have a good example of something, but now I can't remember what it was. Dang it. I'm sure it'll come to me, but probably only after the stream is over. I remember now. I remember now. So there's this movie called Raya the Last Dragon, and I did not like that movie, but it did have something really cool where the dragons that were in that movie, the way that they would fly is they would walk on the water that when it was raining. so they could walk on the rain. And I've always thought I thought that was super cool. So the way that we're going to be doing like angelic flight specifically for angels that don't have like the greatest wings available is they'll be walking like on water vapor, since even if it's a gas, water is still water, right? So will I ever credit Raya the Last Dragon for that world building detail? No, because that movie sucks and I don't want anyone to watch it ever. But I it is an inspiration by technicality.
being flanked by a pair of imposing quartz pillars. The skeleton of a chandelier hung in the center of the room, matching chains latched onto the banister of the chamber's second floor, giving the illusion that the entire overhang was suspended from the ceiling. Peering over the ledge, Vaggie could see the entirety of the entry was filled with mountains of cardboard boxes, furniture, paint, and anything else you might need to renovate a home. They were the only objects in the room that carried no dust. Vaggie was about to tread down the stairs when the front door opened. Vaggie crouched down, hoping that the railing, chains, and junk would be enough to hide her form. Into the entry stepped the tallest woman that
Ah, I forgot to use the render of this that had all the junk in the hall. Wonderful. Good job, AJ.
Vaggie had ever seen. She had to be at least 2 feet taller than her, putting her well over 7 feet at least. A pair of black horns with white stripes curved from the back of her head, crowning it with an almost jagged grace. These horns were framed by a pair of bony shards of inky black, jutting out from the sides of her head. They mirrored the shards upon Vaggie's own wrists, but smaller and no larger than the length of a human hand when in their folded posture. The demoness closed the
How do you find the time to do this? I'm unemployed. Sort of. YouTube is currently my only source of income. Well, I guess Patreon also counts, and so does commissions, but those only came about because I work on YouTube. I actually have a brain disorder, so I can't really get a proper job at the same time while I'm in school. It's just too much for me to handle, but I need to make money somehow. So, and since artwork is something that I can do while I'm resting, it just that's just sort of how it happened. Um, uh, and with something like this, I mean, so long as you pace yourself, you can really make anything that you put your mind to. Our current minimum requirements for the word count for each episode is 10,000 words, which, when rendered into audio, is usually about an hour long. So that's just 1,000 words a week. So 10 weeks, 2.5 months ish, and you'll have a fully written script. And then you bring on some people that are willing to work for dirt cheap, basically slavery, or like find people like from third world countries where their money doesn't go quite as far. Uh, you can actually you can get people that will be willing to work with you, will be willing to help you, so that way you could make what you want to make. I I I was actually quite shocked to PayPal introduce this new thing where like you can see how much it converts your currency into. So when I was paying some of the artists that live in countries that are not in the US, I was shocked at just how far my money could go when it was converted into a different currency. if if I just if I managed to make my channel into something that would make me a living here, if I move to one of those countries where everyone's broke, I could live like a king. uh,
door and locked it behind her. 7 locks seemed excessive. Vaggie caught a glimpse of the demon's yellow eyes as it turned toward the stairs. Even partially hidden by her half-moon glasses, anyone could see the cold in them. They were eyes without life. Vaggie wasn't sure whether or not it had spotted her. There was no way to get around the demon into the door. With her injuries, even if Vaggie jumped, she wouldn't be able to outrun it. Not without wings. It was coming up the stairs. Vaggie stumbled backwards, falling back onto her palms and heels. She skittered into the hallway behind her and back to the room she awoke in, panting as she passed the door's threshold. With great care and caution, she pulled the door closed, scurried into her bed, and clamped her eyes shut. She tried to force herself to relax. Sleeping people do not clench their eyelids like this. She took several deep breaths, forcing her lungs to slow. In and out, in and out, in and out. The silence that surrounded her was deafening, weighing heavy on her chest. Vaggie struggled to breathe, the building pressure of her anxiety stabbing at her heart and lungs. She didn't even realize the demon was in the room with her until she felt the tip of its finger touch her forehead. Vaggie fought every instinct she had to open her eyes, to tense, to run, to fight. She kept her breathing slow and steady, in and out, in and out.
I know that you're awake.
It drew a circle on her forehead with a cold, wet paste. Vaggie hesitantly opened her eyes, her shoulders shaking with fear.
Why are you so frightened?
The demon asked, her voice rich and deep, but friendly.
Yo!
Vaggie confused her
Hold
words.
up! Thank you, Mercer, for the $20 super chat. Holy crap! Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. I volunteer for this because I enjoy helping on it when I can. Thank you so much. I super appreciate that.
She pointed first at the open door, then at the demon.
Oh, I apologize, little one. I did not mean to sneak up on you. Force of habit. How are you feeling? Your injuries were quite severe. You must have had quite the nasty fall or attack, perhaps, to have gotten into such a state. Though I am certain you are displeased being in such an unfamiliar location, I thought it best for your recovery to bring you here, so that I might heal you. My healing abilities are subpar for a demon of my station, but regardless, I am sure you will find they will treat you better than any treatment a human doctor would be able to provide you with. Oh, and I do apologize. I had to check under your clothes for
Who's the biggest hear me out on your own work? Oh, that is a tough one. Do we mean like the one that I'm most attracted to or the weirdest one? Because that will significantly change my answer.
I promise I took no pleasure in it.
You didn't need to say that. I wasn't suspicious of that before. That's like telling someone you're not going to rob them.
The demoness cursed herself under her breath.
'Cause, like, now I'm concerned.
L-shaped bed looks comfy. Yeah, so the reason why it's shaped like this, we actually didn't mention it in this episode, and actually we haven't mentioned it in episode 2 either. But this used to be Lilith's room, and Lilith has like that really big termite bug butt. So she would put her head like on the pillow, and then her tail would like curve around to go sit on that other L shape. But for like a regular person, if this bed existed in real life, that extra little bit uh where the L is, that would be the perfect place to put just a huge pile of plushies. Weirdest and most attractive. Well, the character that I have the biggest crush on is actually Vaggie. She's my favorite. I just think she's really cute and sweet, and she's stupid. She's dumb. And I've always liked myself like a dumb, silly little goth girl. It's my favorite thing. Weirdest one. I will need to go look over my character pages to go see which one is the weirdest one. Is it my phone or is your audio actually glitching? I hope it's just your phone, because if it's my audio that's glitching, I don't know how to fix that.
Do not be concerned.
She waved her hands as if trying to disperse the emotion.
I swear I am unremarkable in these sorts of awkward manners.
What?
Normal! I am normal!
Normal people don't usually go around announcing how normal they are.
The demon put her face in her hands.
Dude, don't be embarrassed. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I apologize, I do not understand human customs.
Well, usually we say hi, introduce ourselves, and then shake hands.
You shake hands when you greet an individual for the first time?
Yeah, is that bad?
What if the other party tries to take your soul?
Vaggie blinked twice.
What, is that a thing that can happen?
Oh, you're new.
New to what? What's happening?
You passed on and went to hell?
The demon tapped her thumbs together. She gave her a smile that was intended to be reassuring, but was far too nervous to do anything other than incite anxiety.
What?
But that was impossible. Vaggie was supposed to be in heaven. She was supposed to be an angel.
Wait right here for a moment. I will get us some tea.
The demon quickly shuffled out of the room, giving Vaggie a moment alone.
Shit.
Charlotte stared at the kettle, waiting for it to heat. She took several deep breaths. This was her first guest. She couldn't afford to mess this up. She had really hoped that the first person she helped would be someone a little easier. A sinner's arrival to hell was always the hardest day of their life.
You can do this. You can do this, Charlotte. You have a degree.
Charlotte filled the cups, set them on a tray, and returned upstairs. She pressed her ear to the human's door, listening intently for whimpers or cries that could give her more information about her new guest. The more information she had, the better she could help this poor girl. Nothing. Not a single sound. She pursed her eyebrows. It was still silent. That was both odd and unhelpful. She took a deep breath, softened her expression, and entered.
Okay. I think I've come to a conclusion about what I think my weirdest hear me out is for my own work. I think it's Beelzebub's demon form. uh, yeah, hang on. I'll see if I can find a way to pull that up on stream so you know what that looks like in case you
I
don't.
hope you enjoy mint tea. I'm all out of black.
No, this is good. I can't drink colored teas anyway.
She accepted the cup. Charlotte logged that away. No colored tea.
It is still too hot for you to drink. I believe that human body parts experience pain at about 45 degrees Celsius.
Ew, you guys do Celsius down here?
You're American.
Yeah, Florida. Born and raised.
She shot finger guns at her. Charlotte took note of that too.
Your reaction to death is far more positive than I would have anticipated.
Vaggie's shoulders sunk.
I mean, yeah, I'm dead. There was no way I was getting out of that situation alive. It was either me or her. And, well, I was always the slow one.
And it does not surprise you that you have been condemned?
I mean, a bit. I've had
Oh,
brief
no.
thoughts in the back of
Oh,
my
no.
head that I might
My mouse
end
is
up
stuck.
here. I didn't
Help,
think it
I'm
would
trapped.
actually happen,
Okay,
though.
I'm okay.
I do believe that we have neglected to inform each other of our aliases.
Alright. How do I pull this up, please? Please. No, why is it a black box? Please. No! No, it's just a black box. Okay. Hang on. New plan. Alright. Screen capture. Please. Okay. Add. Did that work? No! Alright. New plan. New plan. Display capture. Wonderful. Add. There we go. Yeah, that's my girl.
What?
What do you prefer to be called?
Oh, I'm Vaggie.
Vaggie, a pleasure to be meeting you. I am Charlotte Morningstar.
LDS members can't have colored teas, right? Yes, we are not allowed to have colored tea. I wanted to. I didn't want to do like the Moxie I'm bisexual thing. Whenever we were like letting people know what like the identities of my characters were, so I do try to be I do try to be subtle. Oh, the chat's catching up. Oh man, that's some crazy delay. Crazy. Listen, I just think she would be real cuddly.
In the beginning, the Father created heaven and earth and all of its inhabitants. The souls of all.
Okay, so for this scene, I did not storyboard this because I did not have the time. At the time, this was actually storyboarded by the Hermit, and then I ignored most of her storyboard because I was the one that was animating the majority of it, except for that one beginning clip because it was way outside of my skill level. I massively overestimated my ability to animate when I made the scene when I really should have given it to somebody else. My mistake. Oopsie.
Those who had ever lived and
But
whoever
it
would
turned out
live
good enough,
began
I
as mere
guess.
spirits, near indistinguishable one from another, only told apart
The
by names
author's
and
spoiling
voices.
it.
Lucifer, great guardian cherub, star of the morning sky, was one of these angels. He was an idealist with hopes, dreams, and ideas for all of creation, but the Father saw Lucifer as a rascal, for he beheld his way of thinking and deemed it foolish. So the child was forced to watch from a distance as his fellow angels expanded the universe in their ways. From the dust of the earth, the Father created Adam and Lilith, two humans intended to inhabit the planet when it was ready. Before they could even step foot on their land, their relationship soured. Adam insisted that he was
No, sorry.
the better of the two and demanded that Lilith,
No.
and all women by extension, ought to submit to him. Fearing what Adam was capable of, Lilith fled from him before it was time to enter the garden. Enraptured by her fear,
The Hermit overestimates her own ability often as well. Don't say that about yourself. You're amazing. You're one of the most talented animators that I know. I think you're in the top 2 of the 4 that I know.
independence,
5. 5. I forgot that Moth can animate too. I always forget
Lucifer
that.
was drawn to her, and the two rebellious dreamers fell deeply in love. Disgusted by the idea of such a wretched man being the first father of humanity, they gathered supporters wise enough to understand the consequences of Adam's rule and took up arms to fight for their cause. But they were defeated, cast out of heaven and barred from ever having God-given bodies of their own. Refusing to be beaten, Lucifer entered the garden in the form of a serpent. He offered free will to Adam's new bride, Eve, in the form of the fruit of good and evil, who gladly accepted.
I've always wondered what the ideas were for Lucifer's design here. It's pretty simple. I have designed a cherub once before. His name was Cletus, and he looked really, really weird. So, if my memory serves me right, I'm sure I could remember better at some other point. But the way that cherubs were described in the scriptures that I found is they have one leg and they have 4 heads, and each one is a different animal. And then they have like 16 wings. And each wing, they have at least 2 pairs of wings on each head. It's a lot of wings. So my solution to that was there's no way that these animals actually only have one leg. That's ridiculous. But I thought, hey, flamingos, they stand on one leg. So maybe to somebody who was like not looking at everything they have to offer would think that flamingos only had one leg. So I gave them like a flamingo's body, and then I gave them like a long neck with like the humanish head, whichever head is most close to human at the front. And then I put the other heads on the back where they would be most convenient. And then I gave them a big long, big fat tail at the end for balance. Yeah.
Being a child, she foolishly shared it with the very man Lucifer was trying so hard to protect her from.
Yeah, so Diddy Adam, let's address that. No. This is very obviously, or I would hope obviously, demonic propaganda in where Lucifer paints Adam out to be a creep, like just for the love of the game. it really doesn't go anywhere. He just does that completely out of spite. You know how like octopuses, something that octopuses will do is that they'll just smack fish for because they want to. And there's nothing deeper than that too. There's nothing deeper to it. He just wants to. Why does he paint Adam out to be a pedophile? Because he can. This was not obvious at all, AG. How? It's the most obvious thing. I would not write the first man, the first prophet of all humanity, to be a pedo. I would not do that. I would do other horrible things, but not that specific one.
This single act, evil was able to enter the hearts of mankind, shattering the delicate peace the Father had crafted. As punishment for his rebellion, Lucifer's name was revoked. He was called Satan by the
That's the worst animation in the whole series. I ran out of time, so I just used I just used like the transition effects and that were in CapCut, and it looks so bad. It looks so bad. Every day I wish I could go back and I could tell somebody else to make it better, but I can't. It's too late. It's too late. It'll look bad forever.
heavens. He and his supporters were cast down further, even beyond Earth, into outer darkness. They were cursed to never see the good that came from the agency of man, only the vile and wicked. Ashamed, Lilith lost her will to dream, and hid her.
I thought it was obvious, but did Adam still caught me off guard? Okay, I just want to address one final thing before we move on from that forever. So Adam and Eve do have a teeny bit of an age difference. I forget if it was 1 year or 2 years. The character pages that are currently sitting in Discord are not correct. It's either a 1 or 2 year age difference. I believe it's only 2 years. So Jews. Horrible segue. But Jews, they have this thing called a bar mitzvah, where a boy goes from being a boy to being a man at the ripe old age of 13 years old. So by technicality, Lucifer is not lying when he calls Eve a child and Adam a man, but he is lying in the pictures. Aren't they both made as adults though? No, I personally believe that Adam and Eve would have been made as children in the Garden of Eden, because why would you make a creature and have it be an adult immediately? That doesn't make any sense. Like just from a practicality perspective, because when you're learning to walk for the first time, you fall down a lot, so it makes sense to be closer to the ground when you're learning how to do that. There goes my credit score. I actually don't have a credit score. I don't have any credit cards. I pay for everything with money immediately. I guess I do pay rent, but I don't know how that affects my credit score. I don't know where I would go to check it. And I don't live in China, so I don't have a social credit score. I can be as mean as I want, and it won't affect my life at all. That's a lie. Please be nice to people. Oh, that's so interesting. I never thought about it before. When I went to church, it was basically coded into us that they were made full grown. I believe that is something that I think most people believe. I don't know. There's really no hard evidence anywhere for what exactly the specifics were, and honestly, the specifics don't really matter. Why is there a whole block about Jews? Hi, Ducky. Nice to see you.
herself away. But Satan thrived, empowering demonkind by giving them a home and bodies of his own design.
I think that little one right there, I think that was my favorite animation.
Ashamed,
Come back.
Lilith lost
Come
her
back to
will
me.
to dream.
Come here. Come on. Come here. Yeah, this one. This was my favorite one. I think it was the one that turned out the best, even though it was fairly simple to do. Like, everything else, it was basically the same thing over and over again. Draw a piece of the character and then use like the keyframing in CapCut to stitch everything together. But I think this is the one that turned out the best, and I'm very happy with it.
Demonkind by giving them a home and bodies of his own design. As the numbers of hell grew, so did its power. Threatened by this, those that ruled the heavens in the Father's absence made a decision beyond even his cruelty, that every year they would send an army, a cleansing, to ensure that the sinners of hell never forgot their place. But Satan's hope remained, a gift passed down to his youngest child, the sin of pride, princess of hell, and heir to the throne, Charlotte Morningstar.
You're the devil's daughter?
The youngest of 7, yes.
7?
One for each deadly sin, and please do not continue yelling.
Vaggie
Okay, so this is a fun little character building detail. So we Mormons, we do not believe in the existence of the demons that are often cited to be the 7 deadly sins. We don't believe that demons have bodies. We don't believe in any named demons that have appeared throughout Christian mythology. So Vaggie not knowing about the existence of the 7 is like another Mormon indicator, because they never would have been taught to her, so she has no idea that they exist.
Closed her eyes and took a few deep breaths to calm herself down. She touched her fingers to her thumbs, recentered herself, and continued her questions.
So are you, like, evil and stuff?
I'm actually really interested in what sect. This is kind of off topic, but before you started posting, I've been thinking about believing again. Do you have any suggestions on where to start reading? Because I'm Jewish blood-wise. Well, I don't know. I don't actually know very much about Jews outside of like the Fiddler on the Roof. I know that, but I don't know much of anything else. So if you're planning on going for any Jewish religious worship, I would have no idea. But as far as like if you're looking for religion just in general, and looking for a place to start, I would actually start with the Book of Mormon. Not to toot the horn of my own religion, but I really like reading the Book of Mormon. It's a very simple book in comparison to the Bible. I've read both the Bible and the Book of Mormon, and the Bible is very difficult to read. And maybe I'm just dumb, but I often don't understand what's happening. But the Book of Mormon is it's very simple. It's easy for a beginner to understand. So even if maybe you don't necessarily believe the doctrine behind it, it has a lot of the same it has almost entirely the same principles that are listed in the Bible. So if you're looking more for just principles rather than like actual doctrine, or Book of Mormon all the way. If doctrine is something that matters more importantly to you, I would suggest trying to get in contact with your local missionaries. I don't know if other sects have missionaries. I'm sure they probably have something. Why is Charlie heir to the throne? That is a good question. It doesn't make sense immediately since she is the youngest one. It will be answered later. To be fair, there are simpler Bible translations. Yes, that is true. I have read those before, but I don't like reading those ones. I've always read the King James Version. I feel like a lot of the nuances of the text are lost in the more modern translations, and there's always the possibility that somebody who's translating the Old English into more modern English could have the interpretation of the text swayed by, oh my goodness, 247%. That's a lot of skipped frames. Oh joy. I don't like the new translations of the Bible because there's always the chance that somebody could like change the translation based on how they interpret it, which is something that I would be scared of. The Book of Mormon has been translated once, and the Bible, which has been translated multiple times. Yes, that is also an issue. There was one very famous mistranslation in the Bible where Moses was said to have had horns of light when the I think the actual one is rays of light or something like that. Holy crap! $50. That's insane. A fun fact I mentioned once in the Discord, I believe, is that the seven deadly sins aren't referenced in the Bible. A scholar in the Middle Dark Ages came up with them as a uh, form of categorizing sin to avoid it. Essentially, he wanted to know why humans sin. Yes. The seven deadly are not mentioned in the Bible. Well, except for Mammon, but Mammon is obviously referring to the concept of not an actual named demon, which is why we Mormons don't believe in their existence, like their existence physically. What was I saying? I can't remember. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone from me. The Book of Mormon kind of be good for rewriting has been. I don't think so. It definitely helped me because it's what I believe in. It's what I worship. So I really like the way that it like adds on to the Bible and helps clarify a few like misunderstandings that were like left in, especially like concerning like specific doctrinal stuff. But for somebody who's like looking to make a rewrite of anything based on Christian mythology, um, I wouldn't recommend the Bible as research. I wouldn't not the Bible. I wouldn't recommend the Book of Mormon for research material because the Book of Mormon is more doctrine focused and it's more about the histories of like the Americas. So you probably won't find what you're looking to find.
I used to be.
Used to.
I have come to a realization that my past behavior was not acceptable and I no longer wish to engage with it or the company I used to keep.
Charlotte maintained firm eye contact. It put Vaggie on edge. She glanced away a few times, but every time her eyes flicked back up to Charlotte's face, those bright yellow eyes were still staring, unmoving, unblinking. Vaggie looked to the barred windows.
Why did you bring me here?
To heal you.
Yeah, right. Be honest. What do you want from me?
Only to heal you.
Bull. I don't believe you.
Charlotte sighed, her shoulders going soft and finally looking away.
You have caught me. I suppose I am not fully altruistic in my motives.
She returned her stare to Vaggie's eyes. This time Vaggie held her gaze.
I'm attempting to start a redemption program. Every year, heaven sends down a host to eradicate a portion of the population.
Who's your favorite and least favorite character from the B&B or Heck of a Boss rewrites? That is a good question. It is really difficult to have a favorite because my favorite tends to be whoever I'm writing at the time and whoever I find most interesting. I think if I think you hold a gun to my head and I really have to pick. I think my favorite has to be Adam. I just find him such an interesting character. I actually started writing the first couple scenes of the third episode not that long ago. I've been really looking forward to it for a long time. Um, so I just went ahead and started doing it, even though episode 2 hasn't come out. I just think he's so much fun. He's so much fun because he's just such a he's definitely himself. Like he's got like that kind of like rocker personality, like a little abrasive, very strong, very like toxic masculinity, except without the toxic part because he's an angel, so he's very loving, and being a good and decent person is a huge core part of his identity. And it is so hard to find like really good decent characters in media because people don't think that they're very interesting. Everybody wants to explore people that are like deeply flawed. It's a lot easier to write characters that are just like not very nice people. So it just is such a breath of fresh air to write Adam because all of my characters kind of suck except for him, and it's so nice to just have a break from that darkness. Um,
Least favorite character. That one's also very difficult. A least favorite character is kind of hard to pick out because my least favorite characters from the original property I straight up wrote out, like Chaz. I hate Chaz so much. What a waste of time that character is. So he just doesn't exist in my rewrite of Hell of a Boss. So I guess I would have to pay. My goodness, 10 more bucks from Mercer again? Holy crap, just giving me all of your money today. Gonna have to get up early, have a long drive tomorrow and the next day ahead of me, but before I just wanted to say, have you come to steal my eyes? Take care, everyone, and enjoy the show. Thank you so much. Okay, least favorite. I guess it would probably have to be my most morally bankrupt character, except that would very easily go to Lucifer, and I don't think I can classify him as my least favorite because he's just too dang interesting. I guess my least favorite would probably be the one that I'm most bored by. I don't know. I really have no clue. Man, Valentino would be another really easy pick, except that I've altered him so that he's actually an interesting character now without, like, the narrative babying him. Alright. Gun to my head. Final answer. Angel Dust. And that's not to say that I don't like Angel Dust. I love Angel Dust. I really enjoyed writing him. He's just such a jerk. Angel Dust is my Jax. I want him Blender. I want him to suffer. He's so horrible to everyone. But he's just so dang fun. A second favorite character that you've created, Charlotte. I love Charlotte. Charlotte's great.
And they are powerless to fight back or even to run. For that singular day, all sinners are condemned to this ring, pride, where they are easiest for exorcists to reach. Whether or not you hide is unimportant. Heaven has ways of finding its pound of flesh. It is equalizing in a way, humbling. However, to call it anything other than cruel would be an understatement of vast proportions. It is heinous what they do. The only possible—
You're not gonna kill him off, are you? Well, I can't say I have any plans, but I can't say that I planned. If I was planning to kill him off, I would not be allowed to tell you. But if I say I'm not planning to kill him off, then you would know I'm not planning to kill him off. So I guess I really can't tell you either way whether I'm planning to kill him off. I mean, he's already dead, so I guess I did kill him off already. If BBFFB was written by Gooseworks Edit when, I don't think so. She would make it take 9 years for the entire thing to come out. Who is the most fun to design? It's been such a long time since I've designed my characters that I've kind of forgotten. Well, Adam always has a special place in my heart. Let me go through my character pages really quick. I'm gonna narrow this down to just the bed and breakfasts people. Otherwise, we're gonna be here forever. I think of sorry. I think of my heck of a boss people. I think the design that I had the least fun actually designing Stolas, even though he ended up being one of my favorite designs. So I guess most favorite. Most favorite. I think it's Baxter. You know, Baxter doesn't have like a super important, well, I guess he is important, but he's not like the biggest, most important character of all time. He is a side character. but I really enjoyed designing him. I think he ended up looking super cool, and I'm really proud of him. I think he'd fit right in like an actual horror game, which is exactly how I want. That's exactly how I want my demons to turn out. Whenever I have like full creative control and don't feel the need to be too loyal to the original designs, I have a lot of fun designing like nasty little monsters. Like the thumbnail for episode 2 has Katie on it, and because Katie isn't the most important character, I let myself have fun like making the nastiest teeth of all time, and I have a lot of fun drawing those.
Way to survive extermination days. For
Oh my
avoidance,
god,
and
we've
I would
barely
like to
made
give my
any progress. Oh my goodness, we're almost an hour and we're only 20 minutes.
people the best chance at surviving that they possibly could receive. I want to help my people repent of their sins and join their betters in heaven.
Is that even possible? I mean, kind of the whole point of eternal damnation is that it's just that. It's eternal. You don't come back from it.
I am aware no one has ever done it before, but that does not mean it cannot be done.
She smiled. Most of the teeth in her mouth were flat, except for 2 long viper's fangs.
I am a licensed therapist.
Speaking of creative control, are there any plans to continue with In Search of Eden? Uh, I would like to come back to it eventually. I think the ending that I have planned for it would hit really hard. The only issue with it is that it makes dookie money and gets no views. So if I were ever to continue it, I would want to be like a bigger channel, more established. I think what I would actually want is I would want my studio Roadkill Recordings to have a strong enough fan base that they'd be willing to watch anything that we put out. That's probably when I would return to In Search of Eden. Until then, and until the Bed and Breakfast for Former Baddies and Heck of a Boss wraps up, I would prefer to keep all completely original personal projects down to like shorter things. Like I have a horror movie planned that I would really, really love to make someday, that I just don't have time for right now. But I think when it does eventually come out, I think you guys will all really like it.
Should be sufficiently qualified for this.
Vaggie smiled back, her face straining to make the correct expression and failing miserably beyond the mouth.
Not to doubt you or anything, but therapists have been around for a while, right? There's gotta be several down here at least.
You are accurate in your assessment, but I have something that they do not. Power. I believe that if I meet with Heaven's leaders, I may be able to convince them to officially approve my program. I do not believe that my sinners will sprout wings and halos without Heaven's blessings, but I believe that if I can demonstrate to Heaven that real change has occurred, they can open themselves to the idea of recasting their votes and allowing them sanctuary. I just need to prove that these people deserve a second judgment.
Vaggie pursed her eyebrows.
A second chance to be judged. That might actually work.
I am delighted you see it my way.
Charlotte opened the door to her office. It was a cozy enough room. Perhaps in different lighting, Vaggie could have even called it inviting, except for a black rug on the floor that had the same circle-bound eye from the pillars of the entryway, and the paintings were a little off-putting as well. The space was lit with more gas lanterns akin to the ones in the foyer, each one giving off an eerie gleam of dim purple light. There was a singular flat ceiling light in the middle of the room directly over the rug. The room had an old, musty smell to it, and layered into it the aroma of scented candles that only an old woman would have picked. A red couch sat against one of the office's walls, directly.
Was Charlotte's professor actually intimidated into letting her pass? No. Vaggie actually went to not Vaggie. Charlotte actually went to college on Earth in a human guise. You'll find out a little bit about that, but not too much more in episode 2. So she had a very normal, standard therapist education.
Opposite to Charlotte's chair, which was built almost like a throne, imposing armrests, a tall back, framed with similarly vertical potted shrubs, and banners bearing the circle-bound eye. There were several other pillars of plants in the room. Thin black twigs could be spied through their thick, graying leaves. There were 5 windows, all made of red-stained glass, and all with bars outside of them, though for what purpose, Vaggie still wasn't sure. The warm red sunlight streamed through the glass, bathing the office in the glow of early afternoon.
Welcome to my office. I do hope it puts you at ease.
Vaggie noticed a small, red-potted plant that upon closer inspection looked as if it was made of boils. She grimaced.
I guess.
She took a seat on the couch. She noticed next to it were 2 matching armchairs against a desk. To her left was a beanbag that looked far more.
What kind of humor are you hoping to achieve with the bed and breakfast for former baddies? Well, I am in an odd place when it comes to humor. I think that I'm funny, but at the same time, I'm also hyper aware of my limitations with humor. I I I can only be funny under very specific circumstances, and timing is everything. I do not think I would ever be able to like hold up like a stand-up comedy. I would die even if I didn't have any anxiety being on stage. So I guess my goal is more to write a drama rather than a comedy. I don't think I could ever trust myself to write a comedy, because while I do think I can make jokes occasionally, I don't think I'd be able to carry that entire thing. Comedies are some of the most difficult. A comedy is the most difficult type of show to write, because if a comedy fails, it has nothing. All of the worst pieces of media that I can think of off the top of my head were comedies, because if anything else fails, like a drama or horror or something like that, there's at least the chance that it can be funny because it's so bad. But if a comedy is bad, it can't be so bad that it's funny because it fails to be funny. Situation humor, sarcastic humor, dry humor. I guess I don't really know the difference between those few things. I just try to make jokes where I find like appropriate places to put them. And I usually try to make it like jokes between like character interactions. So sometimes the characters will make like in-universe jokes. Stuff like that. I don't really know how to explain my process with that. I don't know if I'm funny enough to explain the process behind humor. Headcanon Charlotte's Throne is like Chariel from Undertale. She has a name and it's Throyo. Will the Green Goblin ever be a resident of the hotel? No.
More comfortable. She moved to that seat instead. Charlotte retrieved a clipboard from behind a filing cabinet. She inked a quill and scribbled down Vaggie's name.
Date of birth?
February 25th, 2005.
Date of death?
Why is Huggy Wuggy in the corner of the screen? Excuse me, his name is Huffy Wuffy. He's like Huggy Wuggy, except that he's short and he does drugs. My son and my slave. He's my helper and I love him.
Today?
Charlotte subtracted the time that Vaggie had been in her care. January 1st, 2025.
Oh my
what
god,
are we
holy
doing?
crap, another super chat that you guys are so generous today. From the Knight of Snails, question, does hell have lawyers? If so, it would be funny if you call the law system Mephistophiles law. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. But yes, there are lawyers in hell. there's a strange proportion of lawyers in hell. Yes, there are lawyers in hell. Contract disputes are a frequent thing that comes up. So there are lawyers. There used to be judges. So whenever there was like a contract with strange wording, you would go to a judge or a lawyer to get it interpreted and have both parties like come to something good. Yeah, an agreement. That's what it's called. I don't know if this is spoilery, but if a Hellborn was to be redeemed, would heaven be accepting? Well, I don't know. That's never happened before. Heaven really is only concerned with human beings. All animals always go to heaven, so they're really only equipped to judge humans. Oh no. 270%. Why? Why? Stop it. No. How to fix it? It's a reference to Mephisto Love from Marvel Comics. I don't know. I've never been a super huge fan of anything comics.
Therapy, if you will allow me.
Oh, I'm fine. I don't think I need that.
You must have done something to end up here. No one comes to hell without reason.
I just don't think I'm ready for that, you know? Not yet, anyway. I just got up and all that, so.
Charlotte stared at her, only finally looking away to scribble down a few notes.
What are you doing? What are you writing?
Vaggie craned her neck to try and find an angle where she could see. She did not find such a view.
Notes.
She will thank me for this later.
I do like the idea of it, though. The redemption program, I mean. I'd like to participate, just not yet, you know?
Charlotte smiled gently at her.
Part of my plan to make it easier for people to redeem themselves is to let my patients abide here.
Doesn't that cross some kind of doctor-patient ethical line?
Undoubtedly, but we are in hell. Do you think such regulations are enforced here? Besides, it will be necessary to entice permanent guests and ensure their safety.
Is that what the bars are for?
Yes, to prevent break-ins.
Vaggie stared at the long cylindrical hunks of metal.
And you're certain those aren't a little overkill?
They are necessary. Even I get the occasional overeager scavenger sniffing around my property looking for objects with which to enrich himself.
Huh?
Thieves, darling. They come for us all.
I think they'll scare people away, make them think they're being imprisoned.
The bars will remain. They have been there for several hundred years, and I imagine they will be there for several hundred more.
There was silence for several moments.
Would you feel more comfortable here if you explored the grounds?
Vaggie shrugged.
I suppose.
Outside didn't feel much better than inside. The air itself felt stuffy, stale, sweltering. Exiting through the front doors, Vaggie was greeted with a brick pathway that curved.
Such clean line art. Okay, so a tip for doing line art that isn't shaky, you have to draw from your elbow instead of from your wrist. Drawing from your wrist is best for like really teeny tiny little things, like very small details. But when you're doing bigger things like the wall or like somebody's arm or something like that, you want to utilize your entire arm in order to do that, because drawing your elbow is a less complicated joint than your wrist, so it moves in a much straighter manner. Sorry, I'm late. Well, I'm glad you made it anyway.
out the front gate, paved with the same dark brick as the mansion. To the right was a mass of overgrown forest in truly abysmal condition. The trees were mostly the skeletal remains of former life.
Are there any OCs that you've made in this AU? Yes, there are, but the majority of them are very minor characters. My current favorite OC that comes to my mind. Yeah, my current favorite OC of all time is Clyde K. Klansman, the bestest of boys. I just love him so much. He's a cutie. he originally started as just a joke character, just to be like kind of a funny gag, but I then everybody liked him, so I decided to give him actual lore.
Caked in volcanic dust that had coated and suffocated them. On top of their corpses, winding, choking, venomous vines lapped up the heat while they cooed to each other about the misfortune of their neighbors. Beyond the gate were great pointed walls of volcanic rock scraping across the blood-red sky, a great road cutting through them like a river. One way in, no way out. Despite the stone crater that surrounded the property, shorter walls still had been built for good measure, though these ones appeared to be purely decorative in nature. Now that she was at a different angle.
Who's Clyde K. Klansman? He comes up later in this episode. You'll see. Yes, Starry is right. He is an absolutely unbothered king.
skull, Vaggie could see that there was something ever so slightly awkward about the dragon. It looked as if the dragon's head and upper body had been added after everything else. The stone where it attached to the wall was no smooth slope. It was distinctly two pieces that the cover had struggled to blend together, leaving an extremely obvious corner. On the left was a fountain of black oil, lit up with bright white fire. So carefully had this fountain been constructed that there was not a single splash or stain on the pristine white marble that held it. Vaggie took a few steps closer. Engraved on one side was the name, Lilith Morningstar. A grave. It was a grave. Vaggie followed Charlotte around the right corner of the house, catching a glimpse of something behind the dragon's head, but not seeing much detail from her current position, paid no mind to it. She was more distracted by the orchard they were coming up to, a section of wood just barely clinging to life. Between the cadavers were scaly trunks with fleshy pink leaves bursting from their branches. Upon closer inspection, Vaggie discovered that they were not just the color of flesh, they were made of it. Each one was filled with tiny veins and muscles, allowing them to turn themselves over when they got too hot on one side. One unfortunate younger tree had not turned his leaves fast enough, and was covered in sunburns that were starting to peel. The stink of sweat filled the air. She could see it dripping off the trees like rain. Her stomach turned.
I think I'm ready to go back inside.
Agreed. I apologize for the sorry state of my grounds. They were once beautiful.
Charlotte led her in through a side door that led them into a cozy study area. Or, well, it would have been if it wasn't so dusty and infested. Little black bugs of all manner of uncomfortable shapes were skittering about. There were seats of white wood built into the walls, and behind them were windows from seat to ceiling letting in the red light. The desks were all very long. Each one had two potted Venus flytraps that looked to be in desperate need of water, snapping at the dozens of little insects that dared to believe they were already dead. The floor was made of pale white wooden boards topped with twin scarlet rugs. Further down the room, or hall as it could be described, it was that long, a library began. On the left side, the window continued until it hit a corner. On the other were bookshelves from floor to ceiling. There was a ladder that could swing around, latched onto a rail clamped to the ceiling, allowing access to each collection to them to the rest of the house. The other side ended in a half-circular raised reading nook. Vaggie tried to look out its curved window, but the garden on the other side of it was so overgrown that she couldn't see anything past the muscular vines and leaves. Vaggie noticed that there was another door that led outside the home, and opposite that door, even more books. These shelves were built into the wall, intersected with windows to let in more light. Vaggie lifted herself onto one of the ladders to peer out of one. Beyond it was a field that extended all the way out to the wall, a lonely stable at the far end.
Do you have animals?
I had a horse.
Best not to dwell on that.
Have you read all of these?
On these shelves? Yes, many times. On those shelves, though.
She gestured to the shelves they had just passed.
There are several titles that later I purchased decades ago, but neglected to ever read.
How come?
I do not know. I was not myself for a time.
Vaggie nodded. Charlotte chuckled.
My father joked once that I was turning into the new sin of sloth.
Wait, decades? How old are you exactly?
2020 and 5 years exactly.
Dang, what's that like?
Hi. Are we back on? I broke it. I'm sorry. Hi. I think we're back now. Sorry, about that. Where's my chat? Why can't I see my chat? Where's my chat? How do I get my chat up? Why is everything broken? Why is it broken? AJ, why'd you break it? I'm sorry. I'm trying to, I was trying to make it not lag so much, and then it decided everything broke. I guess I will just not look at chat for a minute while I try to fix this. I'm so sorry. Microphone is unmuted but has no signal. Can you guys hear me? I can see the chat on screen, but I can't see it in my thing. What? Oh. Ugh. Everyone gaslight her, please don't. Ah, it's broken again. Come on. No, not you. Lock. Movie. Yeah, there we go. No, it's stuck on my mouse. Stop. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Back to movie.
Neither do I.
You are a silly little lady.
Thanks. I think you talk fancy. I like it, but it confuses me.
Charlotte chuckled again, brushing her hand across Vaggie's head as she passed her into the hallway. There were a few closets on the right, and farther in, a dining hall to the left with a proper living room across from it. After that, the bathroom and Charlotte's office, and finally back into the front entry. Charlotte took off her suit coat and draped it across the back of a chair. She rolled up the sleeves of her red button-up blouse and took up a broom.
I have a lot of work to do. I need to get this house into a livable state before I can truly welcome any proper guests into it.
Is it normally like this?
No, well, only in the past 100 years or so. In my prime, a single book out of place was unacceptable.
She started sweeping the carpet.
I have been trying to clean for the past 7 days. I did not think it would be so difficult. I have only finished with 2 rooms.
Vaggie watched her struggle to brush a single leaf off the carpet.
Oh,
The demoness
something
was
happened.
getting
What was it?
increasingly frustrated that it would not be dislodged.
Do
Oh,
you have a vacuum?
Thank you for the
I
$5
don't
super
know
chat.
what that-
Holy crap. Hang on. I'm going to figure out how to see chat and then I'll read it. Maybe I just need to pull it up on my phone. Maybe that's the solution. To be honest, your audio has been kind of poppy. I assumed it was my headphones because it doesn't happen all the time. It stopped now, for example. Has it really? I hope so. Kind of poppy. When you say kind of poppy, does that mean like kind of like glitching, or that might just be like that could possibly be like a feedback from my headphones, not headphones, microphone. The audio is gone, AJ. Uh-oh. Can you guys not hear the show? The audio, look at you can't hear anything. So, I'm speaking right now. Can you hear me when I speak? I mean, the mic says that it's working. I can hear you. Okay. All right.
Is.
It's for cleaning rugs, but
All right.
honestly,
Vaggie kicked up a
Desktop
corner
audio
of the
says
rug.
it's working
A
just
swarm
fine.
of beady black bugs scattered in all directions.
you might be better just throwing this one out. It looks like it's been sitting here for 50 years.
73. How often am I supposed to get new carpets?
Depends on the foot traffic. This
Movie's
one looks
too
like
quiet?
it's been hit by a bus.
I shall replace them all.
Well, that's a heck of a decision to make on a whim. Do you have the money for that?
Money is no object.
Can't hear the
we
show.
shall burn these.
Vaggie shrugged and helped her drag the rug outside, though her usefulness
I turned up the audio on the show.
was dampened
Hopefully
by
it should
her
be
still
working now.
slinged arm.
You do not have to assist
Gone
me
again.
if you do not want to.
I don't have much else going on right now
Aw.
anyway.
Charlotte smiled.
We have a lot of work to do.
Can you hear it now?
It had now been 4 days since Charlotte had initially taken in her first guest. She had been exploring the nearby city she used to rule in hopes of finding some poor, unfortunate soul desperate enough to try anything. Her initial plan had been to make a deal with whomever she found, keeping them
too
hidden
loud
from
now?
angels inside her mansion, and providing for them. In return, they were to truly attempt to redeem themselves,
Oh, it's
so they
too
might
loud.
enter heaven. Finding Vaggie had thrown a bit of a wrench into that plan. Vaggie had been injured past the point of consciousness. Charlotte had tried to engage
When
with
designing a place like a building, what do you do first? Designing interiors is very difficult. What we did when we were designing the bed and breakfast was I built everything in Minecraft based on like a general layout, and then I just added things to make it look nice, which we then translated into actual things that would be in a house. Uh, when we actually drew it. We've been designing a lot more backgrounds from scratch since there were some parts of my build that weren't very good, like the bathroom. The bathroom we made entirely by hand. So what I do in that case is just find a bunch of references and stitch them together And hopefully that works. Too loud. Got it. For those of you who can't hear the audio on the episode at all, you might need to reload the page and see if that like fixes it. I'm gonna turn it back to what it was before, in hopes that it'll be okay.
On a number of occasions, but of course made no progress.
Test.
You cannot make a
Okay,
deal
good,
with an
good,
impaired
good.
soul, not a lasting one anyway.
If I heal her and house her with no expectation of restitution, I will ingratiate myself to her, and she will cooperate with me. I am certain of it.
That had been the plan. Groom the human into trusting her enough to make a deal. Then she would not be able to regress into sin once more. She would improve her life. Charlotte would make it so. And yet, the more time that Charlotte spent with her human, the more her plan faded from her memory. She had not yet enticed the sinner into committing to a true therapeutic session, but so far that did not seem entirely detrimental. Through 4 days of careful observation, Charlotte had come to realize that Vaggie was a gentle, occasionally mischievous, but never malicious soul. Charlotte would need to observe her longer, but she had yet to find any faults to correct. She briefly thought that this woman might have been sent from the heavens just to get her started, but alas, such blessings were far beyond a demon's grasp. There was something wrong with her. There had to be. She just didn't know what it was yet. It was scary that someone could be so good at disguising that, even if that individual was a mere human. Charlotte consulted one of her books, one she had meticulously recorded herself, a collection of her father's notes, copied from his study when she was but a child. She flipped through it until she came to a page containing the information she required. A color wheel. Her father had always
I hear noise. What was it? What happened? No! No! The mini feed is not working! Uh-oh. Everything's gone. Oh, I broke it. I'm sorry. No! Ah! Oh, I can't see. What's happening? Are all of the Sins colorblind except their Sin's color, or is it just Charlie? Yes, all of them are colorblind to an extent. The only one that isn't colorblind to everything except for his own specific color of the Sin is Mammon. He can only see the colors of things that are valuable, which will change depending on where he is at the time.
Very strict rules about colors, each one lined up with one of the 7 deadly sins. Red for
Oh, by the way, for those of you members who are in the chat, please try not to spoil episode 2 for anybody else that's in here, because they don't know those events yet, and they won't for another few hours.
pride, orange for wrath, yellow for gluttony, green for greed, blue for sloth, purple for envy, and pink for lust, all but red appearing to her in shades of muddy gray. That made identifying the nature of her patient's sins far more difficult. She had not seen any red on her, so it had to be one of the other 6. But which one? It could not be sloth. The girl was a very hard worker. She did not even need to ask for her assistance, and she worked even through her final healings. Flicking her quill against her chin, she took great care in her analyses, narrowing down her client's vice, a task made all the more difficult with the fact that the others were so much easier to hide. She dragged her quill through the air, her wrist snapping into place just above wrath, her hesitation pooling ink at the quill's nib. Vaggie seemed a patient soul from what she had seen, but she put her quill away. She needed to observe her charge for a longer period. Scouring the manor for her client, Charlotte soon found Vaggie.
Microphone noise. AJ's bad at recording. Oh no.
In the living room, laying on the couch amidst torn scraps of recently stripped wallpaper. She'd finished with one wall, but the others were still in rotten states of disrepair. Vaggie didn't notice Charlotte standing in the door, thinking over how best to interrogate.
So, fun fact about this particular background, we actually redid this one for episode 2. We had to give this one to one of our younger artists, since we were really short on time. But it is better now.
Her client.
But I'm not mad that it turned out the way that it did. I think it was serviceable for what we needed it to do.
She wished she could just ask Vaggie what her sin was, but every time she tried to coax her into a therapy session, she had refused. Charlotte would keep asking, but she couldn't very well make her, especially without any leverage. Though healing her should have been plenty, Vaggie had practically cleaned the entire ground floor by herself, striking the two more than even with each other, especially considering the fact that Charlotte had been more of a hindrance than an asset. The art of
AJ, do you have any recommendations when writing a good lesbian couple? I think my biggest recommendation is to remember that lesbians are women. Both characters are women. You don't need to have a masculine and a feminine one. You, something that really annoys me about when people write queer couples is that they'll impose like heteronormative gender stereotypes onto them. So there's always a masculine one and there's always a feminine one, and that really bothers me. Like you can just write two women to be two women. I also I also think it's really important when you're writing any couple is to make sure that both people in the relationship are their own people before they're in a relationship. Like yes, the relationship is important, but a healthy relation, if you're planning on writing a healthy relationship specifically, a healthy relationship is just a friendship but deeper. So it's you both people in the party should have differences, their own goals and aspirations, their own things to do. It's very difficult to get right because you do have to write two characters. Make sure you're actually writing two characters rather than writing a relationship, if that makes sense. Two people, two separate individuals. But I like the short, angry lesbian trope. And you can still do that. I'm not saying that you can't have one that's more feminine or more masculine. You can absolutely do that, but you know, you don't have to write the more masculine one like she's a man, you know? Otherwise, why not just make them straight? There should be something like that makes the more masculine one still kind of feel like a girl, you know?
tidying and home repair was a mystery to her. After all,
What
she
did I
was
do?
a princess. It had never before been her place to clean. If she was going to be a good host, she needed a good servant. She just wasn't capable of taking care of her home on her own. Besides that, having an individual as approachable and unintimidating as Vaggie would make her bed and breakfast more appealing to outsiders wary of soul-stealing Hellborn.
What does the color black represent as a sin? That one is hatred. Uh-oh.
Vaggie opened
Why
her
won't you play?
eye, the darkness of sleep broken by the yellow eyes she was starting to get used to.
Hey, what do you need?
She stretched her arms, accidentally smacking Charlotte in the glasses as she did so.
Ow.
Oh, sorry.
It is all right. I have a gift for you.
She was presented with a set of clothes wrapped in clear plastic. She examined them. A red button-up blouse with a skirt to match. It looked like there were a few other things in there too, but she couldn't yet tell what they were.
I thought you might like to have some clean clothes to change into while I wash these.
It doesn't matter until the bathroom's clean.
She flopped backwards, tiring just from the thought of cleaning 2 more floors worth of mansion.
Surely you'd like to bathe more immediately?
Of course I do, but not when it looks like that.
Well, I imagined you may wish to use the hot tub. Then again, I'm unsure as to whether or not your body could withstand its temperature. Likely far too hot for the likes of a sinner such as yourself.
Charlotte tapped her chin in thought.
Ah, the water froths. There are several big metal tubs in my old pasture. If you would like, I can drag one inside and fill it up with clean water for you.
Oh, that would be nice. I'm filthy. Oh, yeah, that feels so good.
The dirt, grime, and sweat shed from her skin easily. The cool water was a welcome retreat from the scorching air. It was such a relief to be clean again. It was enough to make her.
I will say this, and I'll always say this: Charlie is a sweetheart little cinnamon roll. Buddy, boy, are you in for a rude awakening. Holy crap, 49 people a year. That's so many people. Thank you all for showing up to the stream.
Forget about how much work she still had left to do, but her mind couldn't avoid such thoughts for long. 4 days. It had already been 4 days, and Vaggie had only accomplished the bare minimum to make the ground floor habitable. It had been a disaster. Every single room had been infested with bugs and mice, moldy carpets, curtains half eaten, rotten wood, peeling paint and wallpaper, and more dust than you could find at a crematorium. If she didn't know any better, she would have thought that Charlotte had left the house completely abandoned, but she had confirmed that she never left her home except for necessities.
I used to have servants, you see.
Charlotte had explained to her.
Although, I suppose slaves would be a more accurate terminology. They tended to the house, the grounds, the gardens, food, water, necessary shopping. I was waiting on hand and foot ever since I was a hatchling. I have never known anything else. My duties lied in tempting mortals, not housework.
And that lack of even the most basic knowledge had been demonstrated to Vaggie firsthand. The woman could barely use a broom, only sweeping back and forth, never actually moving any of the dirt into a pile or making substantial progress of any kind. Without Vaggie taking charge, the eternal damnation of hell would end before this house saw a singular day of being clean. So she gave Charlotte a list of tasks that could be easily accomplished with a rag and some water, which by some miracle she did know how to use. Vaggie did everything else.
In 4 days, they'd cleaned the downstairs bathroom, kitchen, dining
Oh, look at that. AJ's recording on a different day when she's tired.
room, entryway, and living room.
The library wasn't as bad as the other places, but it was so enormous that it was still very dusty. It would have been cleaned by now if Vaggie didn't need to stop so frequently to rest herself. She wasn't in pain anymore, but her body was still so tired.
All healing spells come with a downside. The way mine function is by speeding up the natural process that your body is already putting to work, something that, of course, takes energy. That is why you are so fatigued. It is a simple spell, and though not as instantaneous or painless as others,
What color is Hell's water? Clear,
it only
I guess. Did we draw it red? I think we might have drawn it red. We did.
Oh.
Oh, I broke it again. Hang on. Yeah, that's lighting. And it's kind of difficult to draw water. The way that water was drawn in, I believe, 1950s cartoons, it was often filled in either white or blue, even though water is clear because it's a lot easier to animate it as a solid color than clear. I drew it red because of lighting. Yeah, that was my assumption. Red. Wood. Wait, where were we? Where were we?
That is why you are so fatigued. It is a simple spell, and though not as instantaneous or painless as others, it only requires a small sacrifice of my own blood in order to be performed.
That didn't stop Vaggie from getting in over her head. She had scraped as much loose paint and wallpaper from the living room as she could get, but she soon accepted she couldn't do all of it alone. Not only were the walls far too high for her to reach their tops, but this grueling work took ages to see any progress, which when coupled with the grand mess it made proved to be rather demoralizing.
4 days. And she still had 2 more bathrooms and 5 bedrooms to clean.
Even her own room remained far from spotless, but it had been cleared of bugs and loose dust, which was enough for now. After drying herself off, she examined the clothes she'd been given. They were nearly identical to the clothes Charlotte wore under her suit coat. The collar on the blouse was black instead of red, the neckline didn't plunge as extremely as Charlotte's, and the skirt was knee-length, which Vaggie thanked the Lord for. To go underneath all of it, a black set of undergarments, so old-fashioned that they had to have come from a generation that had been dead longer than Vaggie had been alive.
They would cover from the biceps down to the knee, an almost comforting familiarity, not too different from her own garments.
Vaggie rifled through her dirty clothes. Her garments were gone.
Oh, of course they'd be gone. I'm in hell. Ugh! I can't believe.
Can't believe she didn't notice. Would she need to get new ones? Did she have to be re-endowed for that? There weren't any priesthood holders down here. Even those that may have been worthy in life would have had their powers stripped away when they were condemned. She wouldn't be able to renew any covenants. She couldn't even take the sacrament without a priest. Every little ritual that had kept her steady ever since she was a little girl, they were all gone now. She looked at her reflection in the water. She saw staring back at her the face of a sinner. Pale white skin, a dark black beak, grayed out hair, 4 black rubbery horns. She sighed. The only part of herself that she still recognized were the thin eyebrows she'd always hated. 2 little rays of light were sitting over her death wound in the shape of an X. Her claws passed through them when she tried to touch them. She got herself dressed, examining the finer details of the clothing set out for her. The whole outfit tied together in a neat bow around the waist, something she hadn't noticed before. She supposed it would have been a cute outfit on someone else. At least it wasn't itchy or scratchy or stiff or too smooth or any other texture that would irritate her overly sensitive skin. The undergarments did poke out of the skirt and sleeves a tad, but she was covered in—
What are garments exactly? So we Mormons have this thing called I believe they're just called garments. But I actually don't really know what they are, but we get them when we're endowed, and then we have to wear them all the time underneath our clothes. Um, an undergarment is just another word for a specific type of underwear. Undergarment, garment equals clothes, so underclothes. Yeah, yeah.
She could be satisfied with that.
Here.
Thank you. I shall have these washed for you.
I actually haven't done my endowments yet, so I don't have mine. I really ought to do that. I'm old enough to do it now, so I don't know what's taking me so long. There's a temple within walking distance of my college. What am I doing?
Does that mean you're going into town?
Yes, you may come if you like.
Nah, I'm really tired. I think I need a nap.
Of course. Is there anything you require that I might fetch for you?
Nah. Are there any churches in hell?
I do not believe so. My father forbade such things. He considered them an insult to his power. I once heard a tale of a Muslim mosque operating in secret, though if I heard of it, my father must have too, and probably dealt with it by now.
I get it. How does, if your dad takes such issues with churches, then how does he feel about your whole redemption program?
I mentioned it to him only once via letter. In response, he sent me a doodle of himself on his throne, laughing so hard he had wet himself.
Do you still have it?
No.
Ah, boo.
Charlotte shook her head.
When I return, would you like to try a therapy session? We do not have to discuss for the entire hour if you are not ready for such commitment.
I'd really rather not. You know, I have so much to clean.
Charlotte stared at her, the way she always did when she was thinking. Knowing why she did that didn't make Vaggie feel any better about it.
I understand now. You need more time to adjust. Come to terms with your current situation. I understand entirely. Until you are ready to begin, you may stay here as a part of my staff. How does that sound?
Vaggie slowly nodded.
I can deal with that. I'm sure beats anything else I could be doing.
Charlotte smiled. Finally, she'd found a compromise she could be happy with.
I'm glad we see things eye to eye. I shall return in a few hours.
Be safe.
It had been a few more days. By this point, Vaggie had given up on perfection, instead going for good enough. There were 4 bedrooms on the 2nd floor, most of which weren't in awful condition, though
Those poor Muslims, well, they can't be that unfortunate if they're in hell. Oh no! You wanted to worship your god. Should've went to heaven instead. I'm sorry, that's terrible. That's mean.
couldn't be fully certain. One of them was boarded up. That left the stairs, bathroom, and a pair of hallways to clean. Vaggie had started with the bathroom, which hadn't been the grueling task she had anticipated, especially once she started applying her philosophy.
Oh, fun fact about this particular image. So this is the floor plan to the 2nd floor. This one was actually drawn by Vaggie's voice actor.
Philosophy of good enough, not bothering with the chore of scrubbing out the stubborn water stains that clung to the walls, sink, and toilet. The hallway, however, proved to be much more of an adventure. Even after tearing out the carpet, doing a complete sweep of the space, and additional mopping, there was still nothing she could do about the wallpaper which housed more little creatures. Cutting her losses, Vaggie turned her focus to the closest bedroom to her own, having no idea how to even approach such a thing. Within the room's center was a patch of bioluminescent blue grass, very intentionally placed. It smelled of lavender, lazily waving back and forth amidst the stillness of the air. Framing the patch was a web of miniature wooden bridges, much too small for anything human, most likely being for some sort of pet. A cat or dog, perhaps. This wooden web splayed out into every corner of the room, even bridging hanging connections from the ceiling and windowsill. Sloppily tossed beneath these structures were various drawers and dressers, their crooked drawers still half open, shamefully displaying their contents. Little bit junk. The walls and ceiling were painted with glowing murals of unfamiliar stars. A sky of a bygone era, foreign to Vaggie in her less-than-existent astronomical knowledge. There were many windows, each with thick curtains over them embroidered with a symbol she did not recognize. Other than some moss on the wall nearest the door, the room was surprisingly clean, especially after Vaggie decided the effort needed to tear out the grass would be far from worth her time. Though the wood and cloth in this room were in really good condition, a few of the curtains were near bleached on the backside. Luckily, the incredibly thick fabric of the curtains was able to limit the bleaching.
A $5 super chat from Adrian Destroyer 4197. I noticed the skull thing, but I don't have a B&B question yet. How's Behemoth's pet and boy toy doing? Well, her pet is probably dead. And if I had to imagine, she and Legion are probably still going through relationship problems and always will. Are the little wooden things in that room meant for Belphegor's son? So you know, they could be. When I actually put those in, I hadn't yet designed Baphomet yet. So I pictured him having like a bunch of cats. When I go through, what's it called? When I go through and do all of the creature designs for the Lust Ring, I was planning on putting gremlins in there because gremlins are like associated with planes in a way that I forgot. They're like little inventor type things, right? Well, my father used to tell me these really detailed stories about gremlins when I was a kid in this place called Acapulco. It's not the Mexican town. It's spelled differently. But we would go to Acapulco and have like little confrontations with Gremlo and the Gremlins and a little piece of the gremlin lore was that they were related to cats in some way. So when I get to designing sloth's creatures, I want the gremlins to look kind of like cats. I think it would be cute. There's also this demon called a night hag, and what night hags do is that they sit on people when they're sleeping, and then they just stay there and make it make it hard to breathe. And what does that sound like to me? That sounds like a cat. So I want sloth to be full of cats. So I was thinking that the wooden places would be for Belphegor's like cat-like servants to run around on.
Back to their displayed side, leaving their inward faces near completely intact. Vaggie was grateful that she didn't need to be in this room for too long. There was something about the air that hung around it that made her very sleepy.
This was my brother's room, Belphegor. Despite the role he has taken upon himself, he is a very light sleeper.
Charlotte had told her.
I designed his room to be as conductive to rest as possible. The grass was actually imported from his ring so that he would be most comfortable.
Oh, dang. Good thing I didn't try to tear that out then.
Yes, that would have been less than preferable.
The other bedroom was built on top of the library. It was the largest bedroom so far. The bed was absolutely enormous, twice the size of a regular king's, framed with...
I think this one ended up being my favorite background. I really wish that we... Holy crap! Knight of Snails 7110 with a $5 super chat. The question about B&B is Abaddon an angel or a demon in your universe? I don't know anything about Abaddon. I heard he's from like this other hotel related show, some kind of show that, and honestly I thought the art looked kind of gross and I didn't want to watch it. That's the only Abaddon that I know of. I'm really not that educated on Christian demons because they don't exist in my particular sect, so I don't know anything about them. I have to research, and I have to research quite a bit every time that I make a new video going over a redesign for one. Haunted Hotel. Thank you.
with large wooden supports on the sides and head. The supports were decoratively set into the back wall, framing the two windows on either side of it. The walls were striped with black and green, each color detailed with gold.
The show isn't actually all that bad from what I saw. I believe that. I don't think I'm not trying to like make any statement about its quality. I'm sure it's a perfectly decent show. I'm just not particularly interested in it from because I don't like the character designs.
Intricate patterning on the green stone, random flecks on the black. Potted plants lay scattered throughout the room. Each fine clay vase that housed them was painted with depictions of opulent wealth. Of course, most of these plants were long since dead, though one, funnily enough, had clung to the vine of life just enough to keep its leaves green. Slotted between an empty space,
Abaddon is mentioned in Revelations. Oh, that I did not know that. I will have to look through the Book of Revelations. I think I've only read it once or twice, and the Book of Revelations is just so absolutely jam packed with information that it's hard to keep track of everything. I really ought to look over it a little bit better. Thank you for that.
along the wall was a desk, speckled with thick splotches of candle wax. An assortment of bones lay sprawled out upon it, appearing both human and other. The bedding, the rug, and the mattress all needed to be thrown out. It also needed to be swept and dusted, which took her a full day. The room was just that big. A nice break, however, came in cleaning the desk, which needed little but a garbage can and a scraper for the wax, which smoothly peeled away from the desktop in spiraling strips.
This was my brother Mamon's room. There's very little in all of the world he loves more than his gold and working on his homunculi.
Is that why there are bones on the table?
Yes, he told me once of how annoying bones are to work with, though I have long forgotten the specifics of why. He much preferred to use the mechanical instruments that Belphegor created as a base for his muscles and sinews. Most of the bones I provided for him, alas, went unused except for their marrow.
The last room on this floor to clean was the throne room, an ominous chamber whose high ceilings and overbearing pillars exuded a feeling of intense claustrophobia.
Oh,
There were no bugs.
oh,
or
it's already
rodents in
showing.
this room.
Okay, wonderful.
Even they
Hang
seemed
on.
to be
All right, guys, I will be right back. I have to go use the bathroom. Bye bye. I'll be back in just a second. I usually have like a better like I'll be right back screen, but I can't seem to find it. Bye bye. Mark, this is good news. We can be bees. You'll live for 30 years. Rev up those fryers. Why did my break time screen not work? Why is it gone? Oh, did I? I think I must have picked the video on accident and then didn't set it to loop. Whoopsie. My bad. But I'm back. And we're gonna skip back by 2 seconds. There. Yeah. Come on. No. Yeah. Good enough. Back to the grind.
Most of the bones I provided for him, alas, went unused except for their marrow.
The last room on this floor to clean was the throne room, an ominous chamber whose high ceilings and overbearing pillars exuded a feeling of intense claustrophobia.
Oh my goodness, we got another super chat while I was gone. Thank you, Adrian Destroyer. Again, you're the goat. Who's everyone's favorite? Okay, so that's just a question to the general chat. What did I miss everything else? Okay,
There were
everything
no
else
bugs
looks
or
good.
rodents in this room. Even they seemed to be put off by the dread that leaked from the bricks. The walls were draped with banners bearing the encircled eye, the symbol of pride as she'd come to know it. At the end of the hall, twin thrones loomed over the chamber, one carved of dark, volcanic rock, and the other carefully assembled out of a disjointed collection of long-dead coral. Behind them, carefully positioned streams of magma lazily poured from the ceiling, their constant movement keeping either one of them from completely solidifying. The banners were a tad faded and fraying at the bottoms, but were otherwise in good condition. She swept the room within a few minutes, and was just about to dust the white throne before Charlotte stopped her.
Do not trouble yourself, I shall remove this.
The demoness strained to lift the throne from its place, but no more than one would strain to carry a large tire. Vaggie finished dusting, taking her own leave soon after. She doubted anyone would spend much time in this room, so it didn't need to be a priority. An exhausted sigh escaped Vaggie's lungs, but one of newfound determination. The completion of this floor was lying behind the boards of warped mulberry wood. She peeked between the barriers, her eye piercing the darkness of the chamber, catching the twinkling of a faint reflection on the floor. The little light danced on the surface of a deep purple material. The chamber smelled of deep, stagnant water, gone undisturbed for years.
Why is this one boarded up?
Charlotte was right behind her just as she thought she would be.
I would prefer to forget that room. Do not trouble yourself to clean it. I am certain it is a biological hazard by now.
Vaggie nodded.
I think we are ready to welcome in our first real guests now.
What? Are you sure? I haven't even touched the 3rd floor yet.
We have 2 bedrooms that are in decent shape, meaning we can house at least 2 guests. Regardless of the state of the manor, I believe it will be best for me to start with a smaller number of guests. Besides, you have been cleaning at such an efficient rate that I am certain you will be able to complete the final floor before we have need of it.
The corner of her smile wavered.
I think you're exaggerating my skills a little much.
Nonsense. Your speed is commendable. I have already lined up an interview with a media personality to market my project.
Already?
Yes, a local news reporter who calls herself Katie Killjoy. I have arranged to speak with her next week.
Panic surged through Vaggie's bones. They weren't ready to be seen by so many people. The house was only just livable, but it was still a dump, even the parts that had been cleaned.
Wait, what if we did something a little bit more local to start with?
What did you have in mind?
Well, we could put up some posters,
Charlotte considered that.
and we could hand them out to people and tell them a little bit about it. I used to do that for my church.
I joined the Patreon, but I don't know how to join the Discord. Also, never had Patreon before. Okay, so there is a link to my Discord in the description of almost all of my videos. I think except for this one. I don't know how to edit the description on this one just yet. So you can just go into the description of any of the most recent videos, and you'll find the link there. And once you get there, just let me know, and I will give you the sponsor role.
Church.
Looking back on this, I'm honestly kind of shocked. Like, yeah, Charlie and Vaggie are the only 2 important characters that are in this episode. That kind of astounds me looking back on it now. How did I do that? How did I make an entertaining episode with only 2 characters talking back and forth for an hour and 10 minutes? I'm insane. What's wrong with me? And I find it I guess there are challenges that come to like balancing a full cast of characters too, but I'd find it easier to write now. I guess I can't even imagine going back and writing with only two characters at my disposal. Help Vaggie's jawline. I'm sorry. We were rushed.
Well, she supposed her program wasn't so different from inviting someone into a religion or cult. Perhaps using similar tactics as such organizations would evoke a feeling of familiarity. Perhaps it would be comforting to the formerly religious.
All right, we will give it a try. If we fill both of the rooms, I will postpone my interview for 2 fortnights.
Vaggie visibly relaxed. Just 2 people. It couldn't be that hard to get just 2 souls in here. If she ended up here, there were probably millions just like her that would do just about anything for a second chance. As the sun began to set, Charlotte brought Vaggie beyond the crater's edge. Without the scorching presence of the red star, the land had finally started to cool to a mild, pleasant temperature. From the outside, Vaggie could see that they had not been in a small valley.
I think this is one of the very few of all of the art pieces that are in this one that I actually rendered myself. I drew all of the thumbnails for all of the art that you've seen in this episode, every single one of them, because, like I said way earlier in the stream, several hours ago, that I'm a massive control freak and I need everything to look exactly how I see in my head. Otherwise, I get very upset and pissy. uh, I really enjoyed drawing it. It really stretched my artistic abilities to draw like a full landscape, like just from my own head with nothing to trace off of, really. Um, I have noticed more recently, this could be an art block thing, but I have noticed that I do use tracing a little bit too much as a crutch when it comes to drawing like very specific things that I'm not quite as familiar with. Obviously, like I'm not tracing full art pieces, but I mean like tracing an arm or tracing a hand. And I guess that's the kind of the beauty of digital art is if you're stuck, you can just trace over your reference image directly. But I feel like I've been doing that too much, and I need to go back to like roughing it in the mines, so to speak. Charlotte in Dead by Daylight, not Fortnite. Fun fact about Fortnite, there is a Fortnite code in the description of all of my videos. So if you're planning on buying anything from the Fortnite store, go get my code. Use my code AJ the Wild Wolf, and I will get a kickback from that. Yippee, yippee! Fortnite, money, money, money. Play.
In the crater of a dormant volcano. The gorge that led beyond it appeared to have been melted in by hot, molten rock hundreds of years ago. Someone had taken great pain to carve steps into the hardened flow, making it easier to scale up and down the mount. There were a few houses that had been stapled to the sides of the volcano, the perfect place to begin their pitch. They knocked at each of their doors, but no one answered. Vaggie would have thought they were all abandoned if she hadn't caught the eyes of a sinner peeking through the blinds. They left a pamphlet about the bed and breakfast in the mailbox at each house they came across. At the base of the volcano sat a deep pit, an oozing wound of rock and stone. At the bottom of it, Vaggie could see a giant pool of liquid metal.
Is that gold?
Yes, golden lava is unique to the Greed Circle. Not to be confused with the Greed Ring, they are very different.
Charlotte continued as they made their way down the mountain.
There are 7 rings of hell, one for each deadly sin. Each ring is further divided into circles, each one a different biome. Mine and my father's is the Pride Ring, home of all sinners. There are 9 circles here in total. Limbo, lust, gluttony, greed, anger, heresy, violence, fraud, and treachery. Sinners are usually sorted into circles based on the severity of their sins. The sinners of Limbo are the least evil. Lust, gluttony, and greed are on par with one another.
Okay. Alright. So, I need to address something. Rings and circles. And they have the same names. I'm sorry. So, I named all of the I named the 7 rings. So the way that it works, and I'm sure you just heard it in the narration, but I'm gonna say it anyway for those of you slow ones in the back. So there are 7 rings, and each ring has circles within it. You know, rings are 3-dimensional, circles are two-dimensional, right? Okay, so why are they called rings and circles? Well, eh. So depending on where you look, uh, how hell is built up varies. Sometimes they're called rings, sometimes they're called circles. I believe they were called circles in Dante's Inferno, which is where the nine circles came from. The nine circles of pride came from. Uh, and I wanted to reference everything, so I just made rings and circles the same thing instead of just not the same thing. I put them in the same universe instead of just coming up with something better. I could have just called them countries, but no, I called them circles. You know why? Because I hate you and I want this to be confusing. I'm so sorry. And to make matters worse, there are three, or was it four? There are at least three circles within Pride that have the same names as some of the rings, which makes it even more confusing to figure out what the heck you're talking about. Because rings and circles are such a similar thing, and then they have the same names, so it's very confusing. And I'm very sorry that I made it this way. And I wish I could go back and tell past AJ that referencing everything is a bad idea, but it's too late and I can't I can't retcon it anymore.
Another anger, violence.
But you know what? That's just what Christian mythology is like. Simple principles, complicated everything else. So I guess I'm just following the aesthetic if you really think about it.
Violence, heresy, and fraud are below the previous three. Treachery, though, is an odd case. That is a circle only for those who have offended God himself. The only human there is Judas. I have extensive information about the subject in my archives if you are interested.
Are we trapped in this circle?
No, sinners travel between both circles and rings all the time. So long as they are back in their proper places on Extermination Day, they will suffer no consequences.
And if they're not?
The universe will rip them apart and put them back together again in their proper place.
Ew. Nasty.
It took about 15 minutes to reach the town. It was a bizarre mishmash of buildings from time periods that didn't match. On one corner was a concrete scab that used to be a blockbuster, now acting as a squatter's camp. Directly across from it, a brick cottage right out of a fairy tale. The only thing that unified the buildings was a depressing gray and gold color palette. This gold was not like Vaggie had ever seen before. Nothing about it indicated wealth. She noticed a sheet metal shelter made entirely out of it.
It can be retconned. Charlotte can have old info. It could have changed as more sinners pointed out how confusing it is. That is true, but I don't want to retcon information that was established in the first episode. I'd rather. Although retcons are possible, I'd really rather avoid them if possible. I think retconning things is a sign of poor attention to detail and bad planning and bad storytelling, and I'd really like to not admit that to people. It was a plan for a long time. Oh, thank you, Knight of Snails, with the $5 super chat. In my opinion, it was specifically made to piss off sinners. I like that one. That's a good headcanon. Um, so, it was a plan for a long time to retcon the names of a few of the circles. Like, I wanted to rename like the circle, the gluttony circle. I wanted to rename it into the circle of addiction. Greed was always gonna stay the same. I forgot, and I didn't have anything planned for lust. I don't think. Uh, so at least gluttony was planned to change, and I believe anger was planned to change to hatred. And then I didn't do that because, if those names were to change, it would probably mean that a new lesser sin has come up and taken over the ring, or at least like made their presence known in some way. Which, since that's like family related stuff, that Charlotte would know about that. Therefore, I can't do it because Charlotte has no excuse to not know like the largest of the political things going on. What is it with the chat and Jews? I think the word Jew is just kind of a funny word. If they didn't want to be made fun of, they should have chosen a less funny word to call themselves. Their own name sounds like a slur. Like it's 4 letters and everything.
Gold was worthless here. Charlotte taped one of the posters they made to a tub.
Fun fact, Judas. So, when people go to hell, they get their names changed. So, Judas, although his name still sounds the same, it is spelled Jew DAS instead of JUDAS. So we spelled it like the correct way in the script since it's Charlotte that's talking and she still knows like the real name. But anybody else that says Judas's name will have it spelled the Lucifer way. Have you seen Angel Hair? I remember watching it a long time ago. I think it's been over a year, but I'm not quite certain. I watched it a long time ago while the episodes were still coming out. So if there's anything new since I last watched it, I guess I need to get caught up.
Telephone pole. It was one of those little ones you'd see in neighborhoods, but it was metal. Now that she noticed that there was no wood here at all. Everything was either metal or stone. It was uncanny.
Where are all the trees?
Sweating trees are not
What's Vaggie's favorite color? Purple.
native to this circle. My orchard is the only one.
Ew, is that what they're called?
How does this work? Do we find a busy part of the village to stand?
What is Angel Hair? Angel Hair is the only good analog horror. I know, that's a hot take because the Mandela catalog exists. But you know what I think? I think the Mandela catalog is overrated. It was cool at first, and then it got lame. I think Angel Hair, it started out as a very cliche analog horror series, but then it like grew and evolved into something more interesting and more complex, while a lot of other things have often stayed in like very tropey and simple and easily produced slop. Um, of the analog horrors there are only 2 that I like, and it's Angel Hair and Vita Carnes. Vita Carnes is very good. I'm sure Mandela Catalog probably is good, but like I fell off watching it, and I just thought it was kind of like lame and boring. I don't know.
And then just wait for people to appear?
Good but overrated, I think is my opinion. Kane's Backrooms, I really liked. I loved the movie, but I never really got into it as an analog horror series. I just don't like analog horror very much. I think it's kind of lame.
Yeah, that's usually how we did it.
The mar-
Like, to me, all analog horror feels like The Painter. Everybody who knows what the Painter series is, also known as Urban Spook, which is the name of the creator, it's just like this guy telling us like a whole bunch of gore and whatnot in the form of poorly made police tapes. And it is generally considered to not be very good among like other like ethical concerns. To me, that's what all analog horror is like, is just kind of the boring description. Why are we even seeing this? Boom, jump scare, loud noise. It just doesn't appeal to me.
market is close by. Perhaps we can start there.
The closer they got to the market, the more people began to crowd the streets. Vaggie kept as close to
Angel Engine was almost good. Almost. But it falls into like the problem. Not only is it AI generated garbage, but also like it how are we seeing the information that we get? Like, part in order to make analog horror, you kind of have to have an excuse as to why we're seeing stuff. Like a public service announcement is a big one, or like found footage and security stuff and whatnot. And yeah, I feel like that kind of thing is very limiting. And with so much analog horror being produced by so many people, there's such a low barrier of entry that like the tropes got overplayed so quickly.
Charlotte as she could. The last thing she wanted right now.
Not the Painter and the gore porn. You know, as horribly as the Painter is written, I think it got too much hatred. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't like torture porn. I think torture porn is like kind of lazy and shallow and usually kind of slop. Like, it's just torture for the sake of torture. But I look at it, and what I see is I see the echoes of things like Sonic.exe and like the My Little Ponies cupcakes and thing. Like it has a place. I think torture for torture's sake in horror. I think it has its place. It has its appeal, and at times I have actually enjoyed like just the shock content of it, right? Um, so I think people criticizing it for just being kind of shallow and like in like uh not good, not well written, and beyond believability. I think it gets more flack than it really deserves because so many other horror movies, not horror movies, so many other indie horror creators have made similar stuff and they don't get the same amount of negative attention. And honestly, I think Urban Spook, like for as questionable as a guy as he is, I think he got too much criticism. I think he also got too much criticism for like getting angry when Pastra criticized his work. And then now, don't misunderstand me. I love Pastra, one of my favorite creators. But if Pastra said that people should stop making stuff like whatever horror thing that I was working on, I would be inconsolable. I would kill myself if Pastra said that my series was bad and people shouldn't make stuff that's like my series. I I don't think I'd be able to handle that, and I don't blame Urban Spook entirely for lashing out. And for the way that he lashed out was actually fairly tame as far as Twitter crash outs go. So, I mean, I don't really like the guy. I think it was really bad. I think it was a bad idea for him to include CSA in his story and then like sell shirts of that. That was a really bad idea. But I don't think people should treat him like he's the most evil guy to have ever existed and his writing is the worst thing to have ever existed. I think he deserves more empathy. And I say that as somebody who doesn't experience that emotion.
Was to be separated. The people here were of every size and shape imaginable. Tentacles and talons, scales and skin, horns and claws, growths, fur. Many of them were far more intimidating than even the princess. Vaggie shuddered as a 6-foot-long black centipede scurried around until it disappeared underneath the porch of a house.
That little edit right there, the audio with the centipede skittering, that was one of my favorite things to edit. I found a little thing in CapCut's editing software that lets you change whether something is on the left ear, right ear, or both. And I wish I got more opportunities to play with it because it's such a fun little device.
It made her skin crawl. The market was a series of booths selling food, clothing, and various trinkets. The owners of said booths were all openly armed to deter thieves. She saw more than one with rifles strapped to their backs or hanging from a sash around their chest and shoulders.
Charlotte stopped them in the very center of the market.
Vaggie clung to her back, anxiously watching their flanks. Charlotte attempted to engage with every single sinner that passed them by. It took a few minutes for Vaggie to get halfway used to her surroundings and start talking to people as well.
Hello, sir. Would you like to talk about... Never mind. Have a good day.
Are you doing all right?
Yeah.
The Painter would be better if it wasn't a horror. It would work better as a thriller. Maybe I think it would. I think The Painter would work best as a sort of what's that one movie called? It would work best as like a Terrifier style movie. I have never seen Terrifier, no, nor do I ever plan to because I don't like I do not like gore in live action. I love it when it's animated or painted. I find it beautiful, but I get really squeamish when it involves real actors. But I think that actually would be like its perfect medium because then people would like recognize it for what it is. It doesn't work super great as an analog horror because people expect analog horrors to be good and will pretend like even the worst analog horrors ever are like the scariest thing ever and so deep and whatnot. But you know, I think The Painter actually had potential and could have been good in a different medium.
Yeah, I'm fine.
They continued like that for a few more hours, reactions ranging from indifference to mild hostility. A few people accepted the information slips they were handing out.
It's 4 a.m. here. My goodness, what are you doing awake? Please go to bed. Bye-bye.
But no one called back. Vaggie guessed that most of them had only taken them out of politeness or to get Charlotte to cease speaking. They didn't get a single guess that day, and though they tried again the next, they were doomed to the same experience.
This isn't getting us anywhere.
I did not think this would be so difficult.
Charlotte tapped her hoof against the pavement.
I have an idea. We will go door to door peddling.
What?
Perhaps sinners will be more receptive to a dialogue in a more intimate, familiar setting.
I really don't want to do that.
Come, the residential area is this way.
Charlotte motioned for her to follow, and obediently Vaggie trailed behind. She couldn't exactly go to the bed and breakfast alone, as Charlotte was her only form of protection. As Charlotte's pace began to slow, Vaggie scanned her surroundings. The residential area was more uniform than the heart of the town. A swamp of crummy, identical concrete cages, all distinctly, grossly modern. A cheap plastic sign stood outside the parking lot that read, "The Pouch," in a scribbly font.
How do limbo sinners work? So limbo sinners are it's usually people that like knew better but like didn't quite get things right. So like it would be like people that were Christians and like didn't get baptized and didn't get all their endowments, didn't get all their work done. Holy crap, $10 super chat from Adrian Destroyer. Holy crap, we have hit the goal. Your reward is another goal. Did you watch The Marvelous Adventures of Flapjack or Chowder as a kid? I watched Chowder. I loved Chowder. I also really loved Courage the Cowardly Dog. That was a great one. All right, new goal, new goal. Wonderful. I think we'll probably do the same thing. 5 super chats, except we'll do all super chats, so it's a little easier to snag, and we'll 45 minutes. Yeah. Did it set? No. Why didn't it set? Please. Oh no. Play!
Mascot was a grossly overweight opossum, with coins spilling out of her belly.
Ugh.
Charlotte marched right into the nearest building. The security lock on the door meant to keep non-residents out was broken, along with the rest of the door, which sat in the dirt several feet from its hinges. The demoness knocked on the nearest apartment, to no response. She taped a brochure underneath the door's number plate and moved on to the next. Vaggie kept herself firmly behind the demon princess.
I'm still mad at myself for not drawing Vaggie in her work uniform for the animation. Yeah. Yeah, when I noticed that, I was like, oh no. Oh, I can never tell him. I can't tell him. He would be so upset.
Charlotte repeated her process several times over, and over, and over. They received no response. Residents were either not home, asleep, or otherwise too busy to come to the door. Finally, though, they came to a door that she was certain contained people. She could see lights and hear music being played. She knocked on the door, hopeful. No response. She knocked again, a little louder this time. Perhaps they just didn't hear her the first time. They turned up the volume.
Well, I never! Did you see that, Vaggie? There's an individual in there and they are blatantly ignoring me. The nerve!
They don't owe us their attention.
Charlotte rolled her eyes.
Oh well, his loss.
They moved on. They received exactly as many responses as they had before. None. On floor 3, a door finally opened for them, only to be promptly closed when the resident realized they did not have the package he was expecting. Charlotte was not easily deterred. They went to the neighboring building and repeated the process, with similar results. This time, a door finally creaked open. A shrewd old woman was standing in the doorway. Vaggie recognized what she was immediately, a soft-shelled turtle. She'd seen many in the place she'd grown up. She had a long, thin nose with a puny pair of glasses balanced on the end. Her eyes were quite small, just barely peeking out of swollen purple flesh, speckled with minuscule spots of gold. Her skin was loose, wrinkled, and flabby. It bunched around her head in tubes, giving her face the appearance of a small object pressed into Play-Doh. Charlotte beamed.
Hello, miss. My name is Princess Charlotte Morningstar, and I would like to speak with you if you will give us a few minutes of your time.
What do you want?
Me and my partner Vaggie are holding a redemption program for sinners.
Ew, what are you, gay or something?
Business partner. Our goal is to help sinners repent of their sins so that they might live in heaven, avoiding the yearly killings. Are you interested?
How exactly would you help me repent?
I'm a licensed therapist.
I ain't need no shrink to tell me what's wrong with me. I'm Baby Trump, the man of my dreams, that extorted him for child support. That I spent it all on gambling and died without a penny to my name. And I ain't got no regrets. I lived a good life, a great life. And you know what? I don't give a camel's backside if the angels come and kill me. In fact, I hope that Michael himself gleans my head from my shoulders. My body can take it. And I hope it'll take a lot more from that man before I bleed out.
The old lady cackled and slammed the door shut.
Okay.
No
Yo!
answer.
A $5 super chat from Night of Snails. It would be funny if people avoided limbo because everybody thinks they're boring squares. It's actually the most desired place to live because it's the place that sucks the least.
No answer. No answer. No.
Great to see sinners whose sin had nothing to do with murder. Yeah, that's something that always bothered me about Hazbin Hotel is that far too many of the characters like did murder to end up in hell. Like there are other things. Like what is there really nobody who did like corporate espionage? And nobody stole bricks and minifigs from a dying old man? Nobody just slept around and was a whore, but nothing else. And nobody just punched a mofo that they didn't like. Like, come on, there's so many things that you can do to go to hell that have nothing to do with murder. And most people do not kill people. I would say that even most bad people don't kill people.
Answer.
I would say that most people that are bad people are probably like neglectful parents or something like that.
Hello.
No answer. No answer. No answer.
Oh God.
Don't freak out. I'm not the clan. This is just what my body looks like. I'm completely naked right now. The real clan is in heresy.
Oh, ew.
How did you perish, if you do not mind me questioning?
I hung myself. I think this is the devil's idea, some kind of sick joke.
That does sound like something he would do.
Did you have something you needed to ask?
Yes, my name is Charlotte Morningstar. Me and my business partner Vaggie are holding a redemption program for sinners so that might live in heaven, avoiding the yearly killings.
He raised an eyebrow.
Yeah?
Yes, this program is still in its experimental stages, so to compensate you for your time, room and board will both be provided for you free of charge.
Okay. And where exactly would I be staying?
In my mansion.
That sounds far too good to be true. I'm a pass.
Wait, but damn it! Ah!
Maybe we should just go home.
No, we are not leaving until we have one new guest.
I love the way that Vaggie delivered like that last line. That was one of like her best acted lines in the whole script. It makes me so happy. Also, I love Clyde. I love Clyde so much. Originally for Clyde, we were planning on having him actually be from the KKK. I was planning on putting a whole church of them like right at the bottom of the stairs. uh, but I thought it would be funnier. Yo, what if somebody just looked like they were in the KKK? And why would they look like they were in the KKK? For hanging themselves as a black man. They lynched themselves. Yes, yes, the joke. It's amazing. I'm gonna get canceled so hard. that was my thought process when I was making him. Are you still accepting background character submissions? Yes, we are. The tab is still open in our Discord if you want to submit anyone you want.
No answer. No answer. No answer. No answer. No answer.
Who are you? What do you want? Have you come to steal my eyes?
No, not at all. My name is Charlotte Morningstar, and this is my business partner, Vaggie. Vaggie?
Come back. Yeah, no, it was right there. My pause game. Yes! Yes! This is one of my favorite details in the whole episode because it's one of the few that I did not plan myself. The salt. Jason stealing from somebody's home after they got turned into salt. It's wonderful. It makes me so happy. And now that I've paused and I'm like really looking at it, that salt is actually really well drawn. Good job, Quinn. of Walton Files slaps? I'm sure it does. I never really got into it. Because it was very screamy at the beginning, and I just didn't find that very interesting. It also did this thing where all of the lore is like hidden. All of the lore and the timelines are hidden in like subtitles and descriptions, and you have to play things backwards, which works for some people. I'm sure some people absolutely love the ARG elements of the Walton Files and finding Five Nights at Freddy's lore. It's not for me. I just want to watch the story and be done. I'm not a theorist type at all. People die when they're killed. Oh, there's tentacles up there. I never noticed that before. Ew. Gross.
Vaggie, are you alright?
No, no, I've had enough. I'm done. I'm done. I want to go home.
Charlotte was taken aback. No soul had ever dared to speak to her that way. This was the behavior of a petulant child.
Bald, no arms.
Charlotte had half a mind to reprimand
Oh, there they are.
her like one, but then she noticed the girl's shoulders
Little.
shaking.
Alright. We will go.
So, I don't know if this is really the best place to talk about this, but we've already passed the other part where it would be good to talk about this. The house. The houses. The pouch. Yes. The pouch. Yes. So, the reason why I designed this place and described it the way that I did is because at the time that I was writing this scene, I had heard about housing projects where like the government will create like a bunch of apartments, right? Like housing towers. They suck. They're awful. They're poorly maintained. They encourage gang activity. The elevators are always broken. It's just like an awful place to live. And some of them were demolished in the 90s, I believe. So my thought process was these buildings died so that they could go to hell, and some greedy business lady could buy them all up and, and then charge you money for them. So neither are they free nor are they good. But they're there, and where else you gonna go? You are homeless. You died, and now you're homeless. So now you have to live here. Good luck.
Charlotte observed her guest. Her posture
Can a sinner have PTSD from death? Of course they can.
didn't look like someone who was scared, not anymore. More someone who was sad.
What troubles you, little one?
I never want to do that again. You can go door to door if you want, but you have to go alone. I can't do it.
There's something deeper to your feelings.
She hesitated for a minute, but finally she spoke.
I was killed on my mission. I was assigned to an area in Utah. Missions in Utah are some of the hardest
Oh
ones.
no, that
'cause
picks up on
everyone
the
there
mic,
is
doesn't
either
it?
a member
I'm sorry.
or purposely left. So when we got a guy that was actually interested in what we had to
Whoa! Sent a star for 2 jewels. I have no idea what that means, but thank you.
say, we, no, I ignored a prompting not to show up and pressured my companion to go with me. It didn't go so great. And now here I am. One mistake and it's all over. I want to believe that I can redeem myself and make things right. I was always taught how merciful and loving the Father is, but I can't feel him anymore. I've been cut off.
Charlotte didn't know how to respond. She didn't understand. How could she? She had never experienced the bonds of love that humans had for each other. Demons do not love. They can be loyal to each other, sure, but they do not love. She supposed that if someone she was loyal to had betrayed her, that she would be unhappy, but not like this. She put her arm around her human and held her close. Vaggie let out tears she'd been holding back since she had arrived. She tried to keep herself as quiet as she could, but the tears kept coming. They stayed like that for a long while, long after Vaggie had stopped crying. Both were tired, frustrated, and disheartened.
My interview is tomorrow. Perhaps if we can get the attention of our individuals, someone will come. I promise you, Vaggie, I will make redemption possible. I will prove to you that it can be done.
For the first time in a long while, a purely genuine smile appeared on Vaggie's face.
Thank you, Charlotte. I don't know what I'd do without you.
Do you think someone saw our posters?
At this hour? But it's so late. Does hell have an IRS?
If we possessed such a thing, it would not be auditing the finances of a government official.
Charlotte opened the front door. Standing behind it was a young man about Charlotte's height, maybe an inch taller, but he was slouched so deeply that he stretched only to her eyes. He was covered entirely in white fur stained with stripes of pink and blue. He had a total of 6 arms, 2 in their rightful place, 2 at his waist, and 2 that sprouted from under his shoulder blades. At his mouth were a pair of fangs, and underneath that a wavy white beard. An abdomen on his backside made it clear on no uncertain terms that he was a spider. The only clothing he had on was a bright yellow shirt, an orange peace sign on its center that was garishly 70s. He had a headband and long but poorly maintained hair to match. He double-checked the poster he had in his hand, then looked back up at Charlotte.
Is this the, bed and breakfast for former baddies? The fuck?
Yes,
I will always hate myself for accidentally leaving in that one F-bomb. I managed to censor out everything else, except for that one F-bomb. And for that, I deserve to be executed. And for that, my parents will not be watching my show. But it's probably for the best. I don't think they would like it. When our trailer came out, my mom called me and she told me that she thought it was cool that I had basically invented a new medium to make my show with. But she also said that Alistair was so disturbing that she didn't want to watch it. So I guess I succeeded in my goal when I made that scene.
yes it is. My name is Charlotte Morningstar. What is yours?
My dad also got mad at me when I warned him about the F-bomb. Thank you, Knight of Snails, with another 5. What are the laws on the soul contract? Can anyone do them? If so, how? So the terms of soul contracts will vary from contract to contract, since it's always made it's always custom made by the 2 recipients. But if you find yourself in a contract with no terms as somebody with sole ownership, then the owner can make you do whatever you want. They can't possess you, but they can tell you what to do, and then you have quite literally no choice.
Angel Dust. This says you got rooms for free?
Without waiting for a response, he stepped inside. His feet left trails of dust in their wake.
Did Vaggie name it? I don't know who named the bed and breakfast specifically, but I always like to think it was Charlotte, trying to do hip cool slang that all the kids are using these days without knowing really what baddie means.
And he reeked of cannabis.
My carpet.
All of our guests are permitted to stay here free of charge. We also provide breakfast.
Just breakfast?
Well, I suppose we could arrange to provide more than that if necessary.
Perfect. I'll stay.
Really?
This is my favorite drawing of Vaggie in the whole show. Both episodes. I don't think. Oh, what happened? I don't think it's possible to get a better Vaggie drawing than that. Just look at her. Look at how silly she is. A little mouth, and she's on the floor. And the little duck butt in the air. She's just so cute.
Arrange to provide
Oh,
more
I
than
love her.
that if necessary.
Perfect. I'll stay.
Really?
Her eyes lit up with excitement.
Yeah, why not? If I don't like it, though, I'm splitting.
As you wish. I will do all that is in my power to make you comfortable here.
And all I gotta do is show up in your office for an hour.
Yes, I am attempting to redeem sinners so that they may cross the pearly gates.
Right.
He looked down at the sheet again, nodded to himself, and stuffed it into a bag slung around his arm.
Where do I sleep?
Follow me. We have a selection.
Charlotte led him to the second floor.
There are 2 rooms on this level available for you. The lavatory is to your left. The 3rd floor is up those stairs on the right. There are more rooms upstairs, but they have not yet been cleaned. If they are still vacant when they are finished, you may select a new one if it so pleases you.
Angel took one glance in Belphegor's room and tossed his bag inside.
This one.
You've decided so fast.
I like this one. Cozy and dark.
He threw down his sleeping bag and was snoring within seconds.
Dude, he has the survival instincts of a freaking cantaloupe.
Vaggie,
A fun fact about this, the voice actress for Vaggie is actually so foul-mouthed that it was really difficult for her to get this particular line right because it had no swearing in it. There was one other line earlier in the show. I believe it's when she says, "Bull, I don't believe you." She had a hard time getting that one right too, and had to swear in order to get the emotion right, which I then had to cut out.
we did it. We have our first guest.
She pulled her into a back-breaking hug.
Help!
Oh, my apologies.
She released her.
I am just so excited. I cannot wait to start working with him.
Vaggie tilted her head, regarding the new sinner. She had no idea yet what to make of him. He seemed harmless enough, but that could be the pastel colors and fluffy white that covered him playing tricks on her mind. Best to lock her door tonight, just in case. Charlotte looked over his sleeping form one last time before pulling the door closed, allowing the room to bathe itself in shadow.
There were many things she could not yet prepare herself for without a cursory knowledge of his personality, but she could not be more delighted that on the morrow she would meet her first patient.
Yeah! We did it, Chet! We watched movie together! Okay, we're gonna let the credits roll, and then we're gonna watch the teaser trailer for episode 2 before we get out of here. I think this was my favorite track on the first installment of our soundtrack. I'm not sure which one I would pick now that we have more music though. All right, let me see if I can get up the trailer here without too many technical difficulties. Let's see. Whoa, Tyler with the 5! I really believe this show is going to be something special. Episode 2 is even better, and everyone should hype it on release. I really hope that it performs well. I'm kind of nervous because the teaser trailer did not do so great. I was really expecting that teaser trailer to do a little bit better than it did, but it got like I think 3,000 views, so it was like a 5 when I really wanted it to be like a 1 or a 2. Okay, let's see. Are you up? Yes! Yes! Wonderful! 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 Now, the audio might be a little bit different on this one, so I'm gonna try and adjust it as we go, and hopefully that's all good. And a little warning for violence in this one, mostly towards the end. Are you going to release the music on
Brothers
Spotify?
and sisters, the Lord thanks you for devoting your day.
Well, I don't have a Spotify account. I guess I probably could. We really only release it on YouTube right now. I suppose I could look into that, and if it's something that people want.
To his service and worship. May all of you be blessed with faith, good cheer, and safety in these trying times. I counsel you on his behalf. Remain indoors past dark and do not travel alone until the mystery of what has befallen our precious missing sister has been revealed. If any of you have any information regarding Sister Anna's whereabouts, please do not be afraid to bring it to me or the proper authorities. Let us pray.
So this half of the animation, this beginning half, this was animated by Redheads for the Win. I'm not. She was in the chat earlier, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not sure if she's still there. We actually had a pretty insane technical difficulty with this one. Once she was done making it and tried to send it to me, we discovered that a like a third of it had corrupted. So she had to redo all of it, which was really unfortunate. But I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful that it made it to us on time.
Father Walker.
And you know, it turned out good. I think this might be this little animation here with the water. I think this one might be my favorite one that she did.
Excuse me, who let you in?
Is Christ's house not open to all?
Not this time of day, and certainly not to your kind. Did I not make myself clear? Run on back to your teepee now. You don't belong here.
But I come bearing gifts, Father. I do believe I've caught glimpse of that poor sister that went missing. Anna, wasn't it? I came across her just past the tree line. She attacked me, though not in the physical sense. I believe her to be possessed, though by what I'm not sure. Certainly something powerful. I only just managed to tie her down. See, she's far too dangerous to be moved without the blessing of a priest.
You're certain there's no way?
The sickness you see before you, Father, her doing...
Is Alistair voiced by a typewriter? You know, that's a really weird thing to say, but just this once you happen to be correct.
I only just managed to flee.
Oh, what part of the South is this? I don't know.
With enough strength to walk. Minutes. Mere minutes, Father.
Take me to her.
This second part that we're coming into was animated by The Hermit. Very, very talented. Everybody go sub their channel or else. There were also like a few other little clips sprinkled about. Like there was that one where Alistair like said minutes, Father. That was animated by Quinn. He was super helpful. He helped us with a few clips when we were really short on time, and there was one that like needed to be corrected.
After you, preacher.
Saint Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him. We humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits.
My hands are getting PTSD from watching this. Oh, pobrecita. Pobrecita. You did such a good job. You should be so proud of yourself.
Seeking the ruin of souls.
Behind you!
And then he gets naked. You know, I almost wish I cut this part of the animatic out. I did the animatic for this one because I'm a control freak, and I really shouldn't have done that. It put us 2 months behind. But sometimes I wish that I would have put this particular. I wish I would have cut this out because it looks a little silly. Like Alistair just gets naked. He just starts taking his clothes off. And he has a reason to do that. The reason why he does that is because he doesn't want to get blood all over his clothes. But when you just see him just start doing that with no warning, it's really funny.
do enjoy the taste of faith.
What type of thing possessed her? So Alistair has one ability, and that's the ability to change the shape of his shadow. So what he was doing wasn't really possession. It was a combination of using a spell to change the sounds that came out of her mouth into scary music type, scary ghost noises. And then he used his shadow to make it look like her eyes were black and like dripping grossness and whatnot. But really, there was no possession. She was awake and aware the entire time.
Though I wonder how the taste would compare. Anna, dearest, would you mind helping me solve this quandary of mine?
Another fun fact, this is the only song, I say that with air quotes, this is the only song on the soundtrack that I actually made myself. I have no musical talent when it comes to music, but I know how to make a horror ambiance, and it's actually pretty simple. You take some like noises from like machinery and scraping metal, and then you slow them down a little bit and put them in certain places, and it worked surprisingly well. I was shocked how well it turned out. I made it just as an experiment, and when it actually turned out into something like actually decent, I was like, all right, I'll put it in then. Was this before or after he became a demon or died? How was he able to transform if he was a living human? So, Alistair is a creature classified as a monster. A monster is a classification of creatures that are not human, but not animals, and not demons. So, what he is specifically is a Wendigo, a real one. He later dies and stops being a Wendigo. But yes, this did happen when he was alive. All right, fellas, we did it. We watched a movie, we watched trailer, and now I expect all of you to be on my channel at 9 a.m. sharp, or else. Thank you, everybody.